Warrior Lore. Chapter 1393. Elder Gu Qingyang, Evil Spirit, and Shui Ruhan stood up and followed the venerable golden rock. Phew. In the profound talisman sect, Zhu Shui stood up and glanced at everyone in the tent. She opened her mouth and said, "We still need to investigate this matter. If someone attacks the world meeting tomorrow, the profound talisman sect and the world meeting will stand together. Junior sister, we need to discuss this matter with the sect. It's an undeniable fact that there are evil spirits in the world meeting. Does the profound talisman sect want to ally with them?" Chun Yen stood up and looked at Zhu Shui as he spoke. "I won't bring the profound talisman sect to ally with the evil spirits. I believe in the world meeting. I'll make the decision for the profound talisman sect this time. If you have any objections, you can go back and ask the elders to make a decision." Zhu Shui looked at Shen Yin, but she only glanced at him briefly. Then, she turned around and left without hesitation. Chen Yin had a grin in his eyes while a strand of gloominess flashed through his narrow and long eyes without leaving a trace. The two old men of the profound talisman sect had complicated looks in their eyes, but they didn't stay and left with Zhu Shui. It seems that the profound talisman sect and the ancient heaven sect have decided to collude with the world meeting and become enemies with the entire alliance. Seeing the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect leave, the old Taoist of Changdao sneered. Many people in the tent had complicated looks in their eyes. They all had their own thoughts. Those evil spirits must be related to the world meeting. No wonder the world meeting has developed so quickly these years. We can completely wipe out the evil spirits tomorrow. In the tent, many forces affiliated with the Great Luan sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, and the Sky Snake sect began to clamor again. They wanted to ally with the Great Luan sect to show their loyalty. At night, the moon was dim and the stars were bright. Auras surged in the mountains. Crowds surged, and flying demonic beasts soared into the sky. What's going on? Why did the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect leave? I heard that the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect have already fallen out with the alliance. They might fight with us tomorrow. I also heard that the lair of those evil spirits might be in the world meeting. There was a lot of discussion in the mountains. Quite a number of mighty figures rushed through the air and left, causing the atmosphere in the entire mountain range to become tense for no reason. The Great Luan sect will not let this go tomorrow. I feel that their goal is not as simple as to deal with the world meeting and the desolate nation. Send a message and inform the Munchu to be prepared. The venerable golden robe on the mountain, his golden rock's eyes, goldens. Yes, a cultivator from the ancient heaven sect nodded and left. The night was as dark as ink, so dark that it could not be dissolved. The moon was dim and the stars were bright, and the sky was dotted with twinkling stars. Schwerer, with the relationship between the profound talisman sect and the world meeting, we have done enough for the world meeting. This time, we will advance and retreat together with the world meeting. If we are careless, the profound talisman sect will be doomed eternally. Du Xiaofu is not ordinary, but he has nothing to do with you. From what I know, Du Xiaofu has many beauties in the world meeting. Moreover, we don't know whether Du Xiaofu is alive or dead, and his whereabouts are unknown. He should still be pursued by the devil religion and the divine light court. Is it worth it? You are the young lady of the profound talisman sect. The sect master intends to make you the next sect master. You have the responsibility to consider the entire profound talisman sect. An old woman beside Zhu Shui said. Her eyes were as bright as stars on her aged face. Zhu Shui stared at the sky. She had a slender figure and a face as white as jade. She looked back and said to the old woman beside her, "Elder, I know what I am doing. I also know that if I am careless, the profound talisman sect will be doomed eternally. However, I believe that Xiaofu will be fine. He will return to the Central Plains one day. If the profound talisman sect is in danger one day, I believe that Xiaofu will help me as much as I do, or even more. Elder, please believe me." "You little girl." The old woman sighed. Looking at Zhu Shui, she said softly, "I hope that Du Xiaofu will know what you're doing. I also hope that your wish will come true. Du Xiaofu will return to the Central Plains one day. With his talent, he will not be inferior to Dongli Chihuang. He will be able to achieve great things. In the mountains and valleys, a faint evil aura filled the air. Swoosh! A golden-haired young man in a red robe appeared in the valleys. It was Dongli Chi from the Great Wheel sect. Walala! As Dongli Chi appeared, an evil aura filled the valleys. At the same time, a black fog vortex appeared, and a black and blood-red figure appeared. Although the figure was solid, it was also slightly illusory. Its blood-red eyes were especially frightening in the deep valleys. The aura emitted from the black and blood-red figure could freeze the void. There should be nothing for me to do. I have already done what I came here to do. The black and blood-red figure looked at Dongli Chi. Its blood-red eyes rippled. There is indeed nothing for you to do. Find a place to hide. Dongli Chi said indifferently. The black and blood-red figure looked at Dongli Chi and said, I have lost a lot during this period of time. Blood Soul, you escaped from the Thunder region and I helped you to settle down in the Central region. You have lost a lot during this period of time, but don't think that I don't know that the Alliance Army has also lost a lot of people. You have also gained a lot of benefits. Your cultivation has also improved a lot. Dongli Chi looked at the black and blood-red figure. His spirit's gorgeous eyes dimmed. He then waved his hand and a ring of light spread out from his palm. The space rippled a little and two figures appeared from the light ripples. A bloody aura immediately gushed out. These two are the people you want. Their cultivation is not weak. Remember, find a place to hide and don't come out for a while. As soon as his voice fell, Dongli Chi handed the two figures in his palm to the person called Blood Soul. The figure then mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Kiki, looking at Dongli Chi disappearing figure, the Blood Soul smiled sinisterly. He then looked at the two figures in his hand, and a little greed appeared in his blood-red eyes. His figure then disappeared. Roar! In front of millions of mountains, on the bank of the Central region's 8,000 miles long river, in the silent night, there was a shocking roar of a beast from time to time. Splash! On the vast 8,000 miles long river of the Central region, there was also a huge demonic beast leaping out from time to time. It then jumped into the water and caused huge waves to sweep out. The night was dark and the beast roars were endless. For no reason, the World Society and the Desolate Country's army gathered on the banks of the Central region's long river looked solemn and nervous. In the temporary tent, there were many people sitting in it. They all looked solemn and no one spoke. Everyone's eyes fell on Du Yunlong, who was sitting in the front of the tent. Du Yunlong's eyes were slightly closed. A message jade slip in his hand flashed and then gradually dimmed. Finally, the jade slip cracked and shattered. TSK TSK. Immediately after, Du Yunlong opened his eyes. Lightning flashed in his eyes as he glanced at the people in the tent. Familiar figures appeared one by one. At this moment, Medicine King Yi Wuming, Murong Yurua, Easy Jean, Li Shui, Black Dragon King, Solitary Sword King, Golden Condor King, Chao Yu, Hua Fankong, Han Xian, Guokuan, Meng Laikai, and others were all in the tent. In addition, there was the current king of the Desolate Country, North Vanquishing Prince, Xiet Tianhong, South Vanquishing Prince, East Vanquishing Prince, Ouyang Ling, Yuan Shanshan, Wan Sampang from the Myriad Clouds Pavilion, Mu Mingqing, and Mu Zhenghao from the Mu family fort. They were all in the tent. At this moment, there were many young men and women sitting in the tent. All of them were very powerful and sat quietly. The one at the front was an otherworldly lady. There was a faint glow in her beautiful eyes. Beside this lady was an extraordinary young man. His aura seemed to be able to dominate the sky and suppress the mountains and rivers. They were Gu Xinyan and General from Tianwu Academy. Beside them were Ghost Child, Wu Kei, Gua Xiaofeng, Li Yuxiao, Black Eagle, Tang Wu, Cloud Chasing Swallow, Yi Feiyu, Wu Qingfeng, Zhang Wei, Sun Ji, and others. At this moment, there were many unfamiliar figures in the tent. Although they were unfamiliar, these people seemed to have a special relationship with the South Vanquishing Prince, East Vanquishing Prince, and others. They were the Lightning Racing Prince, Soul Splitting Prince, Blessing Prince, Nightstar Prince, and other experts who had come to rescue Tianwu Academy when it was in danger. Although they couldn't be compared to the elders and experts of the major sects, They were still well-known figures in their respective regions. All of them had one thing in common. They had graduated from Tianwu Academy. Now that the desolate country was in trouble, everyone knew the relationship between Tianwu Academy and the desolate country's rock emperor, Du Xiaofu. Therefore, they all came to help. Du Yunlong looked at the people in the tent and took a deep breath. Killing intent gradually spread out from his body as he said, "Everyone, the ancient heaven sect has just sent news. Dongli Chihuang and the others have decided to cross the river tomorrow. They're finally here." Beside Du Yunlong, a lady in provocative clothes had a dark expression. Lightning flickered in her ethereal eyes. "Then let's fight." Many people's auras surged in the tent. Wuming's expression changed slightly as he said softly, "The evil purifying alliance is too powerful. Be it in terms of experts, numbers, or foundation, we won't be a match for them in a head-on battle." Murong Yorua revealed a bitter smile. In the face of absolute strength, everything would be useless. As the saying went, a strong man could defeat 10 skilled men. The evil purifying alliance had experts from various mountain sects in the Central Plains. The World Society and the desolate country only had a few years of foundation. If they really fought, they would be powerless. Chapter 1394. We have no place to retreat to. Dongli Chihuang and his people will not let this go. We can only fight to the end. Yi Zijin spoke. Her beautiful face was cold, but her expression was solemn. Of course, we can only fight. However, we have to plan for the worst. If we reach the last step, the World Society and the barren country's foundations need to be preserved. The foundations that we have painstakingly built over the years cannot be destroyed. When Xiaofu returns, we will not be able to explain ourselves. Wuming's aged face turned cold. He looked at the people in the tent and said seriously, "Yunlong, Xiaoman, Yorua, Zijin, tomorrow is the last moment. You will leave with the barren country and the World Society's foundations. You are not retreating. A great man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. When Xiaofu returns one day, he will repay you tenfold. As for us old fellows, we have lived for a long time. Even if we die, there is nothing to regret." Old Yao. But now, this old man was still thinking of a way out for the World Society and the barren country. He did not care about them. This kindness moved all the experts in the tent. Then, there was silence in the tent. If the battle were to start tomorrow, it would be a bloody battle. Everyone, don't be too worried. At least we still have 2 great allies, the ancient heaven sect and the mysterious talisman sect. We are not fighting alone, Du Yunlong said to the crowd. His sharp and murderous face squeezed out a smile. At night, in the barren country's stone city, night fell, but the vast stone city was brightly lit. The stone city, which was originally densely populated, had lost more than half of its population. Most of them were the elderly, women, and children. The young cultivators had all rushed to the battlefield, intending to stop the purifying evil alliance's army from entering. It must be mentioned that the barren country's army did not ask the residents of the Stone City to go to the battlefield. It was the residents of the Stone City who had asked for it. If the Du family had not stopped them, the elderly and the youths would have rushed to the battlefield. I pray to the heavens that the Huang nation's sons will be able to defeat the purifying demon alliance and return in triumph, protecting the Huang nation for generations to come. Within the Stone City, there were many places where old people, women, and children gathered. They burned incense and kowtowed. They couldn't rush to the battlefield, so they could only sincerely pray for the protection of the heavens. For the past few years, the Du family of the barren country had been very considerate of the people. They had never collected any exorbitant taxes from the commoners and only collected a small amount from the merchants. They had also often helped the poor. Under the protection of the barren country, the entire barren country was peaceful and the lives of the people were getting better and better. Even things like dominating the market and bullying the weak were rare. All the citizens of the barren country knew that this was all thanks to the efforts of the barren country's Du family. It was because of the barren country's protection that they could live such a life. Now that the evil purifying alliance was about to enter the desolate country, it was destined that blood would flow like a river. Everywhere they passed would probably be turned into ashes and razed to the ground. All of the citizens of the desolate country were strongly against it. The moonlight was faint, and the starlight was twinkling. Under the night sky, two figures quietly appeared in the sky above the barren country's stone city. The two figures were one old and one young. The young one was a woman. She wore a long green dress and looked to be about 25 or 26 years old. Her green dress fluttered in the wind, and her black hair fell to her perky buttocks. The delicate contours of her face revealed an otherworldly beauty. The old one was an old woman in a plain dress. She looked senile, but as she hovered in the air, she looked vigorous. Her face was full of wrinkles, as if the vicissitudes of time were written on it. Miss Xiaojing, this is the stone city. Looking at the vast stone city below, the old woman said softly to the otherworldly woman beside her. Her wrinkled face seemed to have seen the vicissitudes of life, but her eyes were deep and spirited in the night sky. Granny Ming, I can feel it. This is the place where my brother grew up. The woman's green dress fluttered, and her eyes shone. She kept looking around, as if she was curious about everything. For such a small place to be able to produce such a young man, this place must be extraordinary. The old woman also looked around curiously. Then, she looked kindly at the woman and smiled. He's my brother. It's not strange. The woman raised her head and looked at the old woman. Her eyes were firm, and there was a smile on her face. Her smile could topple a city. Then, her eyes swept across the vast stone city below, and her eyes moved slightly. She said, "Many people are praying to the heavens. Did something happen?" This is unexpected." The old woman looked ahead. In the vast and majestic palace, there was a bright light under the night sky. It was like a bright moon, releasing its brilliance. Hearing this, the woman in the green dress followed the old woman's gaze. On her otherworldly face, her ethereal eyes also looked at the palace. Her eyes were like stars, and the corners of her red lips moved. She said softly, "Granny Ming, it seems to be related to you. There seems to be the aura of the grass of immortality." "That's strange." The old woman smiled and looked ahead. Her figure suddenly flew out, and in the next moment, the old woman appeared in front of the palace. The woman in the green dress smiled. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, nervousness, excitement, and longing. She muttered softly, "Father, brother, Xiaojing is here to look for you. Will you wait for me at home? I miss you so much." As she muttered, the beautiful figure of the woman in the green dress disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, when the woman in the green dress appeared again, she was beside the old woman in front of the palace of the desolate country. "Miss Xiaojing, we are here. But according to the news from the clan, your brother seems to have disappeared. Your father has not appeared either." The old woman looked at the woman in the green dress. Her eyes were filled with love. The woman in the green dress did not speak. She looked at a small mountain range in front of the vast palace. It was also a place where light shone. There was energy everywhere, and the palace's dragon aura rippled around it. Whoosh! A strange fluctuation appeared in the space. The woman in the green dress seemed to have discovered something. Step by step, she walked through the air and slowly stepped forward. She entered the palace of the desolate country. The palace of the desolate country had an array set up by the sacred array prodigy Zhan Qingchun. If a stranger wanted to break in, even an ordinary martial domain realm cultivator would not be able to do so. However, at this moment, this otherworldly woman in a green dress calmly entered the imperial palace. It should be a talisman array set up by the descendants of that old man. It's not bad. The old woman looked around the palace of the desolate country. Then, she entered the palace without causing any disturbance. Chapter 1395. In the imperial palace of the barren country, a woman in a green dress flew across the sky. Her face was solemn. She had an impression of a young man who was mocked and ridiculed as a fool since he was young in this small border city. Outside the Du family, the originally barren mountain was now filled with light and energy. Inside the seal, two great treasures, the dark seeker grass and the immortal grass, were growing luxuriantly, bringing great benefits to the stone city. "It's here." The woman in the green dress landed outside the Du family. It was as if she had seen a young man sitting alone in the barren mountain, enduring all the ridicule and ridicule. Occasionally, he would smile, showing disregard and indifference to all the ridicule and ridicule. Pain. Why is it so painful? Suddenly, the woman in the green dress felt a sharp pain in her heart. It was as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. Looking at the light in front of her and the place filled with energy, she stepped across the space and directly stepped in. The powerful seal was extraordinary. It was set up by the divine array prodigy, Jinqingchun. Inside the seal, 2 spiritual grasses covered the entire mountain. They were so luxuriant that they covered the sky and the earth. Light shot into the sky, and energy fluctuations filled the entire stone city. The woman in the green dress walked to the center of the mountain, trembling with each step. When she reached the roots of the immortal grass and the dark seeker grass, she bent down and scooped up a handful of soil. Her clear eyes were moist, and 2 lines of tears could not stop flowing down her beautiful face, drop by drop. "Brother, for me to live, you suffered so much," the woman in the green dress murmured. Her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. In the soil, she could feel the aura of her brother, who she had never seen before, and the endless pain. "Miss Xiaojing, don't be sad. Your brother is still alive in the end." The old woman's figure silently appeared behind the woman in the green dress. Looking at the woman in the green dress, her deep eyes were full of heartache. "Granny Ming, I'm not sad. I'm happy." The woman in the green dress put the dirt in her hands into her cosmos bag. She stood up gracefully and a smile appeared in her moist eyes. She said, "I felt everything. Big Brother was buried here, but he was also reborn in this miraculous place and obtained great benefits. This is indeed a miracle." The old woman looked at the lush dark insight grass and immortal grass around her and was also surprised. In the center of the imperial palace, the Du residence had retained its original appearance, leaving behind a large mountain. After a while, the woman in the green dress appeared at the back mountain of the Du clan. Her eyes were filled with joy, as if she had seen the youth grow up in the mountains once again. Occasionally, she would travel through the wilderness with a sloppy old man, catching fish and roasting meat. She revealed a pure and innocent smile. The beautiful silhouette of the lady in the green dress slowly stepped forward. Her eyes were filled with a smile. Finally, the lady in the green dress appeared in front of a courtyard of the Du clan. She looked at the entrance of the courtyard, and her beautiful silhouette froze. Creak. After that, the door to the courtyard was pushed open and the woman in the green dress entered. The simple and quiet courtyard was extremely spacious. It seemed familiar. There was only one rattan chair in the courtyard. However, just by looking at this rattan chair, the green-dressed woman's eyes were already filled with tears. The green-dressed woman's body trembled. She seemed to have seen a middle-aged man and a young man sitting facing the moon. One big and one small, lonely and speechless, only drinking and gazing at the moon. The place they were looking at was the direction she had walked out from. Those scenes unfolded in front of her eyes. The green-dressed woman could feel that each scene seemed to have entered her soul. She could truly feel it. Drip, drip, drip. In her eyes, tears rolled down. Drop by drop, tears flowed down her beautiful cheeks. The pain in her heart was indescribable. It was as if there was something twisting her heart. Silently looking at the lonely rattan chair, the green-dressed woman's tears were already pouring down. Sigh. The old woman stood behind the green-dressed woman. She did not come closer. On her old face, there was a slight sigh. "Father, brother, Xiaojing came back to find you." The green-dressed woman's eyes were boiling. Her delicate body trembled. She could no longer hold it in and let out a soft cry. Her voice slowly echoed. However, in this quiet courtyard, no one responded to her voice. Swoosh, swoosh. This sound, in the originally tense atmosphere of the desolate country, finally alarmed the people of the Du clan. One by one, figures suddenly flew through the air and landed outside the courtyard. These were many elders of the Du clan. At this moment, the younger generation of the Du clan had already rushed to the Chang River in the central region. The first to arrive was a heroic elder in his 50s. When his figure landed, he immediately flew into the courtyard. It was the head of the Du clan, Du Zhenwu. Who dares to barge into my Du clan? An elder shouted angrily. One by one, figures rushed into the courtyard and immediately surrounded the two figures in the courtyard. The old woman did not move. She only stood behind the green-dressed woman. The green-dressed woman had already stopped crying. She slowly turned around. Under the starlight, an exquisite and beautiful face appeared before the eyes of the elders of the Du clan and Du Zhenwu. Xiaofu, when they saw that exquisite and beautiful face, which clearly belonged to an otherworldly woman, all the old men of the Du family were dumbfounded. That face was too similar. However, upon closer inspection, one could tell that it was not the Du clan's third young master that everyone in the Du clan was praying for. Instead, it was a woman who looked incomparably similar. The similarity of the green-dressed woman caused all the elders of the Du clan to be stunned. They faintly felt that there was some connection between the two of them. Otherwise, how could there be such a similar person in the world? You are. At this moment, after Du Zhenwu recovered from his shock, his body suddenly trembled. He did not know much about his third brother. However, over the years, Du Zhenwu had faintly learned a few things, especially when Du Xiaofu had his heart dug out. Even if Du Xiaofu did not say anything, Du Zhenwu was still able to guess a lot of things. The green-dressed woman looked at Du Zhenwu as her moist eyes slowly regained their calm. She suddenly bowed and respectfully said, "Niece Du Xiaojing greets eldest uncle." "Xiaojing, Du Xiaojing, you really are third brother's child." Du Zhenwu trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. Then, he cried tears of joy as he stepped forward and helped Du Xiaojing up. His eyes were also filled with hot tears as he said, "Child, quickly get up. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're home. Third brother Tingshuan's daughter is back." Moments later, everyone in the Du clan was in a state of panic. Tingxian has another daughter? Why don't we know about it? Some aunties of the Du clan asked in surprise. None of them knew about this. She should be Xiaofu's twin. She looks exactly the same and is otherworldly. One look, and you can tell that she's not an ordinary person. An elder said. He had just seen it with his own eyes. She looks exactly like Xiaofu. How can a girl be otherworldly? Some aunties of the Du clan joked. At this moment, only Du Zhenwu, several respected elders of the Du clan, Du Xiaojing and Elder Ming were present in the main hall of the Du clan. Du Xiaojing sat upright as she learned about her brother and father from her eldest uncle, Du Zhenwu. She frowned at times and felt worried at other times. Your father's whereabouts have always been unknown. However, Zijin of the Yi clan and your brother both said that your father should have obtained great benefits on the Tianhuang continent. He might need some time to return, but it's already been several years. The devil religion and the divine light court worked together and destroyed the 7-star hall. Your brother's whereabouts are unknown. It's said that he once appeared in the Shang province. Later on, he seemed to have appeared in the Beast region as well. However, he has always been pursued by the Divine Light Court and the Devil Religion. There hasn't been any news of him for a very long time. Du Zhenwu's expression turned serious as he told Du Xiaojing everything he knew. The return of his third brother's daughter should have been a joyous occasion. However, given the current situation that the Du clan and the entire desolate nation were facing, Du Zhenwu was unable to truly feel happy. The Devil Religion, the Divine Light Court. Du Xiaojing's red lips parted slightly when she heard that. Her expression was cold as an invisible presence silently rippled out from her body. What a powerful aura! However, that silent aura carried a terrifying pressure that instantly caused the expressions of Du Zhenwu and the old man from the Du clan to change. Under that pressure, all of their bodies trembled, and they were almost on the verge of collapsing. They were unable to resist. Elders, uncle, Xiaojing has no intention of doing so. I'm sorry. However, Du Xiaojing immediately withdrew the invisible aura from her body and hurriedly apologized to Du Zhenwu and the elders of the Du clan. What a powerful girl. Her aura is no weaker than Xiaofu's. The elders of the Du clan and Du Zhenwu shook their heads and smiled bitterly. They didn't mind, but they were still deeply shocked by that aura and pressure. Du Xiaojing smiled. Although she had never set foot in the Du clan before, She was incomparably familiar with it. She looked around the hall and said, "Uncle, was this desolate nation built by my brother?" "That's right. Not only the desolate nation, but also the world society were built by your brother when he was young. Over the years, they have become stronger and stronger." As Du Jinwu spoke, his eyes were filled with pride and satisfaction. He continued, "Your brother said that he wants to build a wealthy family that belongs to him. Build a wealthy family that belongs to him." The corners of Du Xiaojing's delicate lips moved slightly. Her eyes were smiling as she softly muttered, as if she could sense something. There was no need for words to understand. On the other hand, when Elder Ming beside him heard this, a slight fluctuation appeared in his eyes on his aged face. "That's right, uncle. Where are Sister Xiaoman and Brother Yunlong? Why aren't they here? There are also many people in the desolate nation praying to the heavens. Did something happen recently?" Du Xiaojing asked. She already knew some of the members of the Du clan from the picture scroll back then. At this moment, she felt that the atmosphere in the Du clan and the desolate nation was extremely heavy and oppressive. "Everything is because of the evil purifying alliance." Du Jinwu sighed softly. He roughly told Du Xiaojing about the evil purifying alliance in the central region inside. "According to the news your brother Yunlong sent back, the evil purifying alliance will start a war with the desolate nation tomorrow. At that time, I'm afraid that the odds are against them. Your brother Xiaofu's whereabouts is still unknown. Tomorrow morning, the evil purifying alliance." Hearing this, Du Xiaojing stood up. Her long black hair poured down from the back of her head as she softly said, "Even if my brother isn't here, I'm still here." Chapter 1396. Miss Xiaojing, it's not convenient for you to participate in the matters of the outside world. Elder Ming raised his head and smiled helplessly on his wrinkled face. "Granny Ming, this is not a matter of the outside world. It's my brother's matter. The wealthy family my brother wants to build includes me." Du Xiaojing smiled. Her green dress swayed slightly, and her eyes shone brightly like an immortal. In the vast golden lightning space of the golden-winged great rocks, the shockingly domineering and destructive aura had already dissipated. Everything had become docile. Only the primordial spirit energy in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace was still madly increasing. Waves of aura undulated from between his eyebrows and continued to rise. Whoosh! As this aura rose, silver-gold electric arcs flowed from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. Vast and majestic primordial spirit energy swept out from his body, accompanied by the silver net soul-devouring lightning, earth-shattering lightning, golden crow sky-burning lightning, and the pressure of the spirit root. This primordial spirit aura was simply abnormal. At this moment, the primordial spirit energy emanating from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows was enough to directly crush the primordial spirit of a spirit talisman master of the same level. The primordial spirit energy, which was the most difficult to cultivate, rose unhindered in front of Du Xiaofu. Time quietly passed. It was unknown when the rising primordial spirit aura on Du Xiaofu's body would calm down. The first rays of dawn slowly pulled open the curtains of the night. When the first ray of light shot through the mist, it was another quiet and colorful morning. 8,000 miles of the central province's long river was a vast mountain range with millions of mountains and towering cliffs. It was majestic and magnificent. Roar, early in the morning, the roars of many demonic beasts could be heard everywhere in the mountain range and the vast waters. Countless auras surged, revealing a murderous aura that froze the world. Countless giant ships crossed the waters, and countless figures were entrenched. The densely packed figures covered the sky and covered the sun. When the first ray of light shot through the mist in the sky, there were thousands of figures in the air in front of the densely packed figures. Their auras were even more terrifying. These thousands of figures were the experts from the ancient Heaven Sect, Profound Charm Sect, and Desolate Countries World Society. Venerable Golden Rock, Elder Gu Qingyang, Elder Hu Sankuan, Elder Qiong Mingza, Evil Spirit, Shui Ruhan, Mi Zixia, Si Ruofeng, Yin, Mo Chen, Zhu Shui, Shun Yin, Guoming, and the others were all present. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Yi Wuming, Murong Yurua, Yi Jin, the silver-winged demonic condor, North Vanquishing Prince, the general, and Gu Xinyan were also at the front. The desolate nation, the world society, and the Du family will never forget the kindness of the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman school. Du Yunlong spoke. His cloud robe fluttered in the wind as he clasped his fists and bowed to the experts from the ancient heaven sect and profound talisman school. Everyone looked at each other and nodded slightly. Du Yunlong from the World Society had reached the peak of the extraordinary martial honorable realm in such a short time. Many of the elders from the various large sects could not compare to him. Even among the younger generation of the 9 great forces in the middle ground, he could probably be ranked in the top 5. In addition to his fierce and murderous character, Du Yunlong had managed the World Society and the desolate nation in an orderly manner over the years and had constantly grown stronger. Such talent and wisdom were enough to make the experts from the ancient heaven sect and profound talisman school not dare to be arrogant in front of Du Yunlong. Little girl, when did you become so shy? The World Society and my ancient heaven sect are allies. Xiaofu is also my disciple. Naturally, we should advance and retreat together. Elder Gu Qingyang waved his hand, and his white robe fluttered. Xiaofu saved my life back then. As long as I'm around, the profound talisman school will advance and retreat together with the World Society and the desolate nation. Zhu Shui opened her mouth as a smile appeared on her beautiful face. They're here. Suddenly, the Honorable Golden Rock spoke. A golden light began to sweep out from his eyes. Everyone's eyes glowed brightly when they heard this. They immediately looked forward, and their expressions changed. Rumble. As soon as the Honorable Golden Rock finished speaking, the hazy fog in the long river in front of them began to surge. The waves were like waves that rippled in the air. The fog was torn apart and scattered. Roar. In just a short time, the space trembled. A large number of huge demonic beasts flapped their wings and swept across the sky like dark clouds that covered the sky and the earth. Rumble. The densely packed figures stood and roared. They flapped their wings and swept across the sky. Wherever they passed, the waves of the long river below swept up. In the vast sky, hundreds of millions of troops followed behind. Countless figures swept out from behind. The figures that covered the sky and the earth flew out together. The terrifying aura brought with it a low rumble of thunder, causing lightning to flash and thunder to rumble in the sky. Suddenly, on the vast long river in Zhengzhou, countless figures were like locusts passing through. They gathered at the end of the line of sight. The 10 days are up. If the barren country and the World Society dare to stop the Alliance army again, we will massacre all of you and kill you without mercy. In the sky in front of them, there was a mighty rumble of thunder. The sound was deafening, causing the waves of the long river in Zhengzhou to surge. The strong enemy is attacking. Barren country's men, World Society's disciples, and Heavenly Beast Hall's beast soldiers, you must retreat. Looking at the overwhelming figures and the vast aura in front of him, Du Yunlong stomped his foot and leaped into the air. He waved his hand and looked behind him at the barren country, World Society, and Heavenly Beast Hall's demonic beast army. His voice reverberated. The barren country only has warriors who die in battle. There are no cowards who retreat. Yi Jin stepped into the air. Her dress fluttered, and a vast aura swept across the area. The World Society only has disciples who die in battle. There are no deserters who retreat. Hua Fankong escaped with a step, and his voice surged. The Heavenly Beast Hall's beast soldiers will never retreat. The silver-winged demonic condor flew across the sky. Demonic aura was overbearing and unparalleled. Roar, fight them to the death. Kill. In an instant, the shocking roars of demonic beasts and the sounds of killing resounded like thunder from the barren country's World Society's army. It caused the entire Zhong province's long river to tremble like a tsunami. Rumor has it that the World Society's army and the Heavenly Beast Hall's demonic beast army are ferocious. They live up to their reputation. Many of the surrounding profound talisman sect's disciples had already heard of the rumors. Although the World Society had yet to reach the pinnacle of strength, the army of the World Society and the demonic beast army were incomparably ferocious and ruthless. Now that they saw the World Society's army with such imposing manner in the face of the Alliance's army, they were all secretly amazed. Looking at the army in front of him, Du Yunlong smiled. He turned around and looked at the Alliance's army in front of him. Lightning flashed in his eyes. His long hair and cloud robe fluttered. He shouted, "If you dare to take a step into the Zhong province's Long River, kill." The World Society is already involved with the evil spirits. For the evil spirits' lair, kill without mercy. From the Alliance's army in front, a cold and eerie voice sounded, "Kill." In an instant, the battle cries were deafening. Figures that blotted out the sky and covered the earth rushed over. "Those who offend my desolate country, kill." Du Yunlong waved his hand. With his body as the center, lightning flashed. Wind rose and clouds surged. Dark clouds suddenly rolled and gathered. The sound wave was like thunder from the ninth heaven, resounding through the Zhong province's Long River. The warships move first. The demonic beast soldiers will be the main attack. The desolate country's World Society's army will attack the flanks, Murong Yurua said. Her ancient temperament was filled with killing intent at this moment. Roar. Kill. As Du Yunlong and Murong Yurua's voices fell, millions of mountains and the Zhong province's Long River trembled. A large number of warships moved horizontally. There were energy ribbons that soared into the sky. The demonic beasts in the water and the heavenly beast hall's demonic beast army rushed out. Finally, the World Society's desolate country's army covered the sky. Ancient heavenly sect's army, kill. The descending spirit swept across the sky. His aura was wild and overbearing, and his voice was like thunder. Profound talisman sect's army, assist the desolate country, kill. Zhu Shui swept across the sky. At this moment, her long skirt and hair fluttered, making her look heroic. Rumble. In just a short period of time, runes soared into the sky in the quiet 8,000 miles of Zhong province. The terrifying aura made the world tremble. Even from afar, one could feel the terrifying aura sweeping across the land. Bright runes were soaring into the sky. Without any superfluous words, the armies had been confronting each other for several months. This battle was unavoidable. There were even people secretly guiding this battle. Suddenly, the two armies collided fiercely. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, the battle began. The 8,000 miles of Zhong province's Long River exploded. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky, and the wind howled. The muffled sound of energy colliding was like thunder. In an instant, there were miserable wails. Blood spilled and dyed the water red. You're overestimating yourself. You're courting death. In the Alliance's army, there were many outstanding people of the younger generation who stepped out. Many of the figures at the front were familiar. They were Shilongyang of the Sky Snake sect, and Lingjun of the Spirit Sky Valley, and many young experts of the Great Wheel sect. However, Dongli Chihuang and the elders of the major forces were nowhere to be seen. It seemed that they were still standing behind the army, observing the overall situation. Bang, bang, bang. Shilongyang and Lingjun and the others stepped out. Everywhere they passed, the demonic beasts of the heavenly beast hall and the desolate country's army exploded. Kill. Yizi Jin swept across the sky. Her heroic figure was unparalleled. She charged forward. Her target was Shilongyang of the Sky Snake sect. Roar. A lion's roar was like thunder. A huge thunder lion's body released lightning. The sound was deafening. It was Leizu. Kill. The silver-winged demonic condor's body expanded. It flapped its wings and flew across the sky, wanting to tear the sky apart. And Lingjun, I will tear you apart alive today. And Shunling shouted. His aura fluctuated. A golden lion appeared behind him. The two horns on its forehead were like dragon horns. It was majestic and majestic. It was like the phantom of a divine beast had been resurrected. It stood behind him, looking down on all enemies in the world. Then, it flew wildly and locked onto an Lingjun of the Spirit Sky Valley. Kill, Gu Xinyan, General, Ghostchild, Gua Xiaofeng, Li Yuxiao, Wu Kei, Tang Wu, Yi Feiyu, and the others also rushed out immediately. They blocked the young experts of the Spirit Sky Valley, the Great Wheel Sect, and the Sky Snake Sect. Fight! Inmachin, Siruafeng, Mi Zixia, Guoming, and the other top young experts of the Ancient Heaven Sect and the Black Talisman Sect had also rushed out. North Vanquishing King, Absolute Sword King, Golden Condor King, Black Dragon King, and the others didn't stop either. The battle was about to start. Rumble. Terrifying attacks landed one after another, causing deafening sounds to be heard above the central region's long river. Powerful energy spread out and spread across the land. The energy swept across as if the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Killing intent surged. Chapter 1397. Kill. A tall and sturdy young man with bronze-colored skin stood out. His facial features were well-defined and deep. His aura surged like a giant dragon in the sky. His aura could suppress mountains and rivers. He was a general of Tianwu Academy. He strode across the river and killed everything in his path. Bastard, do you think there's no one in the desolate country? Kill. Yu Shao coldly shouted. On his bright and clean white face, his deep dark red eyes were suffused with a red glow. A kind of indescribable majesty and demonic aura erupted. His long red hair danced in the wind as he actually erupted with an aura that was not inferior to that of a general as he began his massacre. Set up the array. Under the cover of Ghost Child, Wu Kei, Gua Xiaofeng, and the others, Gu Xinyan's beautiful eyes glowed as she set up a talisman array. Instantly, under the cover of the array, a large number of the Alliance army was trapped and exploded one after another. Du family disciples kill. Within the desolate country's army, several figures suddenly appeared behind Du Xiaoman. Those familiar figures were Du Shui, Du Yu, Du Gue, Du Chong, Du Hao, and the rest of the younger generation of the Du family. The Du family had been quietly growing in strength over the years. Only Du Shui and Du Yu were the most famous in the ancient Sky Sect and had become the strongest among their generation. There were rumors that Du Yu had fought with Shen Ling and had not been defeated in the end. At this moment, Du Gue, Du Chong, Du Hao, and the rest were in the sky. Many of them had reached the martial honorable realm. These figures stepped out into the sky as their auras surged and covered their lightning martial veins. In an instant, thunderclouds gathered in the sky as purple lightning raged. The pressure was so great that it made everyone want to prostrate themselves. Those who invade the desolate country kill. Du Yu, Du Shui, Du Hao, Du Gue, and the other disciples of the Du family charged out, and it was as if there was a purple thunderstorm in midair. Their murderous aura swept through the sky, and everywhere they passed, the Alliance army suffered countless casualties. They retreated continuously, trembling in fear. Du Yunlong, let's stop the war. As long as the World Congress has nothing to do with the desolate country and the evil spirits, we will try our best not to harm the innocent. We will only purge the evil spirits. Ninefold spirits figure swept out and looked at Du Yunlong, Morong Yurua, and Yi Wuming, who were overseeing the entire situation in midair. Her eyes were filled with divine light, like the stars in the sky. The 9 scars on her bald head were like 9 mysterious runes, flickering with light, as if a deity had descended to earth. Du Yunlong, let's stop the war. For the sake of your third brother, as long as the World Congress has nothing to do with the evil spirits, we will request that the Alliance's army will not affect the desolate country. After Zhu Chongling's voice sounded, a young man with pale lips and fair skin appeared. His eyes looked at Du Yunlong. A gentle and warm glow shot out from his bright and clear eyes. However, there was also an aura that rejected others. The young man's silky black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. It was loosely tied up with a vermilion ribbon. He was Ming Rongyin, the #1 person among the younger generation of the Xinming sect. The desolate country and the World Congress will stop the war. As long as we can prove that it has nothing to do with the evil spirits, the Huijian sect will only purge the evil spirits. We will never touch a single blade of grass, tree, or soldier of the desolate country. Wu Ming walked out. The 3 swords on his back emitted 3 kinds of brilliant light. Du Xiaoman, Zhu Shui, Shui Ruhan, your desolate country, the Xinming sect, and the ancient heaven sect have joined forces. In the end, you will not be able to stop the Alliance's army. Stop the war. Otherwise, blood will flow like a river and corpses will be everywhere. Jiang Ruolin's beautiful figure appeared and spoke to Du Xiaoman, Zhu Shui, and Shui Ruhan. Her snowy white dress fluttered in the wind, and her ink-black hair fluttered in the wind. A warm flame emanated from her graceful figure, and it was like a divine flame that was leaping about. If you all step back, then there will be no need for blood to flow like a river. The desolate country only has warriors who die in battle, not disciples who retreat. Du Xiaoman looked at Jiang Ruolin. Her eyes were rolling with lightning. Then we can only fight. The evil spirits must be cleansed. This is our responsibility and obligation. Jiang Ruolin sighed. She looked at Du Xiaoman, Zhu Shui, Shui Ruhan, and the others and said, I really don't want to fight with you all. I hope you can reconsider. Then let's fight. Shui Ruhan spoke. Her eyes were as vast as the sea, and runes gushed out in all directions. Zhu Shui did not speak. She condensed her hand seals and began to condense array flags. She had unknowingly proved her stance. Leave Du Yunlong to me. I will leave the rest to you all. The Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix suddenly appeared in front of the ninefold spirit. She had golden hair and a red robe. Her eyes were dazzling. Divine light spread out from her body. She swept towards Du Yunlong in a domineering manner. Dongli Qihuang, come, Du Yunlong shouted. He spread out his arms and activated the thunder martial vein. Lightning flashed around his body. A mighty aura of punishment swept out and fiercely pounced on Dongli Qihuang. Feeling the aura on Du Yunlong's body, ninefold spirit, Ming Rongyin, and the others were extremely surprised. But then, Wu Ming, Jiang Ruolin, ninefold spirit, and Ming Rongyin pounced on Zhu Shui, Shui Ruhan, and Du Xiaoman respectively. Junior sister Zhu Shui, let me help you. Chen Yin flew across the sky with a smile on his face. He blocked Ming Rongyin. There was a slight sneer in his eyes. Once the battle began, it immediately erupted violently. In a short period of time, the central continent had already been dyed red with blood. Countless broken limbs sank into the water. Miserable wails accompanied by muffled sounds spread out like thunder. Golden Rock, Ling Fu, do you really want to interfere to the end and bring the ancient heaven sect and the mysterious talisman sect to eternal damnation? Above the intense battlefield, high up in the sky, there were suddenly many old and powerful figures stepping out of the air. They were the super experts of the Great Wheel sect, the Heavenly Snake sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, the Immeasurable sect, the Huijian sect, and the Shindu Gate. Some of them had even stepped into half of the region. When the Evil Purifying Alliance was purging the evil spirits, these experts from the various great forces seemed to have a certain tacit understanding. They didn't touch the experts at the domain realm. It was the same now. The various great forces were aware that the army had already started the battle. They also had an invisible tacit understanding that they wouldn't casually dispatch experts at the domain realm. If experts at the domain realm were to make a move, then the consequences would be beyond anyone's control. It would be enough to destroy everything. At that time, no one could estimate the final loss. If experts at the domain realm were to make a move, it would represent a battle at the peak of Kyushu. It would turn into a great calamity. You are the ones who have to make a move now. We have no other choice. An old man with an extremely ruddy complexion looked at the old faces of the Great Wheel sect and the others in the sky. His eyes were like the stars, and his body rippled with a soul-stirring aura. He was Old Man Ling Fu, an expert of the mysterious talisman sect. Du Xiaofu had met him before. Come, I haven't exercised my muscles for a long time. Honored Golden Rock shouted. His eyes shot towards the heavens and were incomparably domineering. Then there's nothing more to say. Let's do it. These top experts had a tacit understanding. Immediately, numerous figures charged into the sea of clouds high up in the sky. Dazzling rune light gushed out in all directions, exploding like thunder. It seemed as if it wanted to shatter the void and shatter the heavens and earth. However, in terms of numbers, the super experts of the mysterious talisman sect and the ancient heaven sect were much fewer than the super experts of the Great Wheel sect, the heavenly snake sect, and the other 7 great mountain sections. Rumble. Thunder rumbled incessantly in the sky below. The 8,000 miles long river in the central region was filled with raging waves. The river water was bright red, and the stench of blood filled the sky. Broken limbs and bones were scattered everywhere. In this intense battle, the Du family, the World Society, the Tianwu Academy, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Mysterious Talisman Sect all sent out their core experts. This was especially so for the younger generation of the Du family and the Tianwu Academy. The strength displayed by them had completely shocked everyone. They were comparable to the younger generation of the 9 great factions. In fact, their overall strength was even greater than the 9 great factions. However, the Alliance army consisted of 7 great factions and numerous first-rate factions in the central region. Even if the desolate country had the demonic beast army, the outstanding Du family, and the younger generation of the Tianwu Academy, they were ultimately unable to stop the Alliance army. Go. In the sky, Master Apothecary Yi Wuming formed a seal with his hands. An invisible yuan spirit fluctuation spread out from between his eyebrows like a tide. Woo woo! In an instant, tens of thousands of puppets charged out from the millions of mountains and the countless giant ships below. These puppets had hollow eyes, and their auras were cold and murderous. They gathered together to form an army of puppets and charged towards the Alliance army. Over the years, under the leadership of Master Apothecary Yi Wuming, the World Society had secretly refined many puppets and created a huge army of puppets. It was all for the sake of facing a crisis like this one day. Not good. It's an army of puppets. Run. Save me. At this moment, the army of puppets created by Master Apothecary Yi Wuming was finally put to use. The army of puppets that were complete killing machines charged out. It was the nightmare of the Alliance army. The tens of thousands of puppets forced the Alliance army, which consisted of millions of soldiers, to retreat. They were inexplicably shocked and cried for their parents. Puppets? We have them too. Hurry up and use the puppets to block each other. Tens of thousands of people in the Alliance army shouted and summoned their puppets with cold laughter. These puppets were almost exactly the same as the World Society's puppets. They were refined by the Ancient Heaven Sect's World Pavilion. These were the puppets that they had bought from the World Pavilion over the past few months in the free trade market. They had placed their soul imprints on them and controlled their puppets. Some of the wealthier ones even had 2 or 3 puppets. They were proud of themselves. Kill. In the Alliance army, those who controlled the puppets shouted as they controlled their puppets. They were about to block the World Society's army of puppets. You finally used it. Since you dare to attack the World Society, don't blame me for killing you. At this moment, the figure of a skinny young man quietly appeared in the sky. He was the person in charge of the World Pavilion, Gu Zhangyu of the Puppet Sect. However, there was a sinister smile in Gu Zhangyu's eyes. Chapter 1398. As Gu Zhangyu's hand seal was formed, an invisible ripple spread out from between his eyebrows in all directions. And at the next moment, a shocking scene appeared in the battle circle. Just as the Purifying Demon Alliance's army activated the puppets they had purchased from the World Pavilion in an attempt to block the World Faction's puppet army, the puppets, which had just charged out, suddenly froze in place. Woo woo! In just an instant, the thousands of sluggish puppets let out ear-piercing screeches. Then, with lightning speed, they pounced on their masters who had just activated them. A last-minute counterattack. Chi. These puppets were pure killing machines with tyrannical strength. The people behind them who had activated the puppets did not even have time to smile before their puppets were torn to pieces. Some of the disciples of the Alliance army who were slightly stronger came back to their senses, but it was too late. In their panic, they were either killed or heavily injured by the puppets. Screams and wails filled the air, and it was a tragic sight to behold. Bastard! It must be the doing of the Ancient Heaven Sect's World Pavilion. These puppets were refined by the Ancient Heaven Sect's World Pavilion. They secretly tampered with the puppets so that they can truly control them. The Ancient Heaven Sect is too shameless. Bastard, Ancient Heaven Sect, I'm not done with you. In an instant, everyone in the Alliance army cursed the Ancient Heaven Sect for being shameless. The World Society's puppet army, the huge demonic beast army in the water, and the heavenly beast hall's demonic beast army immediately inflicted heavy damage to the Alliance army. However, the Alliance army had the powerhouses and leaders of the younger generation from various factions. Under their organization and leadership, they immediately stopped the demonic beast and puppet armies. The armies of the World Society, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect were also extremely brave and fierce. However, many of the disciples of the various factions were also extraordinary. With such a huge difference in lineup, it did not take long for the World Society, the Profound Talisman sect, and the Ancient Heaven sect to fall into a disadvantage and were gradually suppressed by the Alliance army. Ah, roar! On the 8,000-li-long river of the Central Prefecture, miserable screams could be heard incessantly. The roars of demonic beasts were deafening. Blood mist poured down, dyeing the Central Prefecture's long river red. The vast waters were covered with corpses. The armies of the World Society, Ancient Heaven sect, and Profound Talisman sect were forced to retreat. Demonic beasts fell, and puppets were destroyed. Kill, under the lead of the Great Wheel sect, the Heavenly Snake sect, and the Spirit Sky Valley, the Alliance army gradually formed a blockade and encirclement around the World Society, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect. Fight them to the death. Hua Fankong, Chao Yu, Absolute Sword King, Golden Condor King, Eagle King, Gong Dao, Guokuan, and the others organized their armies and fought with all their might. Roar! The mysterious Flood Dragon King, the Flame Carp King, the Ice Python King, and the Stone Turtle King had already activated their true forms and were ready to attack. However, in the face of these outstanding leaders of the World Society who had been tempered by the divine lightning, the experts of the major forces in the purifying evil Alliance army had their eyes on the mysterious Flood Dragon King, Chao Yu, Hua Fankong, and the Eagle King Gong Dao. Under the siege, the Eagle King Gong Dao, Chao Yu, the mysterious Flood Dragon King, and the Solitary Sword King were either at a disadvantage or were already in danger. General Gu Xinyan, Li Yuxiao, Ghost Child, Wu Kei, Guo Xiaofeng, Tang Wu, Yi Feiyu, and the other elites of the younger generation in Tianwu Academy were also targeted by the experts of the major forces and the elites of the younger generation due to their outstanding strength and extraordinary aura. They were all surrounded and suppressed by the experts of the major forces. However, this battle had already shocked the major forces in the Alliance army. The World Society and the Desolate Nation had actually produced so many extraordinary people. Just among the younger generation alone, there were hundreds of people whose talents were comparable to the Heaven's Prides. It could be said that the overall talent and strength of the younger generation of the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, 3 schools, and 9 major forces could no longer be compared to the World Society and the Desolate Nation. In the long run, when the older generation of the 9 major forces had passed away, the World Society and the Desolate Nation would be able to surpass the 9 major forces of the Central Plains. At the thought of this, some of the older generation experts in the Alliance army couldn't help but tremble in fear. They felt uneasy and fearful. Therefore, many of the older generation experts in the Alliance army started to attack the younger generation of the Desolate Country, World Society, and Du family without holding back. They wanted to kill what they were worried about while it was still in the cradle. Piffed! Many of the experts of the World Society, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect were severely injured. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their faces were pale. High up in the sky, Du Yunlong and Dongli Chihuang were fighting. Under the suppression of Dongli Chihuang, Du Yunlong, who had the lightning martial vein, was also suppressed by his cultivation. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. However, Dongli Chihuang's complexion didn't look too good. She even revealed a look of shock without leaving a trace. It seemed that Du Yunlong's strength had far exceeded Dongli Chihuang's expectations. Ah, roar! As they were suppressed by the Alliance army, the armies of the World Society, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect were suppressed more and more. Under the shocking, muffled sounds of energy, people continued to fall. The armies of the World Society, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect were becoming more and more passive. The younger generation of the Du family had the lightning martial vein. The terrifying aura and thunderstorm swept over, causing people to prostrate themselves. It was impossible to resist. That level of lightning execution was capable of destroying everything. However, at this moment, the younger generation of the Du family was restrained by the older generation of the Great Lewin sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, and the Sky Snake sect. They were in a stalemate. The terrifying lightning execution made the older generation of the Great Lewin sect and the other Honorable Realm experts gasp. Although the cultivation of the older generation of Honorable Realm experts was much stronger overall, they couldn't do anything about the lightning execution of the younger generation of the Du family. They could only barely suppress it. As for the older generation of the Desolate Country, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect, they were all restrained and couldn't help. The Desolate Country, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect are already at the end of their rope. They can't hold on for much longer. Kill, under the lead of the Great Lewin sect, the Sky Snake sect, and the Spirit Sky Valley, the Alliance army had already suppressed the Desolate Country and the other forces to the brink of despair. Killing one won't be a loss. Killing two will be a gain. Kill. Hua Fankong, Chao Yu, and the others shouted as their killing intent surged. They attacked with all their might and clashed fiercely with the Alliance army that was surrounding them. In an instant, the surrounding space became chaotic due to the collision of energy. Violent shockwaves were constantly emitted from the collision, causing ripples to appear in the surrounding space. Kill. Fight them to the death. The World Society army was in a killing frenzy. Their eyes were bloodshot as they roared and fought with their lives on the line. Countless figures surged out like a tidal wave as they fought desperately against the Alliance army. Bang, bang, bang. The violent collision of energy reverberated above the central region's long river. Golden spears clashed, fists and palms collided, and all kinds of energy runes erupted. It was as beautiful as fireworks. However, under the brilliance, there was a real bloodbath. The armies of the Desolate Country, the World Society, the Profound Talisman sect, and the Ancient Heaven sect were ultimately unable to stop the evil purifying Alliance army. Under the absolute difference in formation, the armies of the Desolate Country, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect could only continue to be slaughtered. They gradually fell into a desperate situation. Under the surging waves below, there was already blood flowing and corpses lying on the ground. Suddenly, the space above the central region's long river fluctuated. A large number of figures flew out from the space in front of them. In a flash, they appeared in the sky above the battlefield. Suddenly, a murderous aura swept across the 8,000 miles of central region's long river like a storm. Chapter 1399. In midair, the light receded, and 18 figures appeared in the sky. 18 sharp auras swept across the central prefecture's Chang River. 18 tall and straight youths stood proudly, their eyes shining brightly. Each of the 18 auras was at the Honorable Realm, and they weren't just any ordinary Honorable Realm. The 18 heavenly guards have returned. Those who offend the World Society will be killed. The 18 young men stood in the sky, and a black-robed young man spoke first. His eyes were sharp, and his aura was murderous. His voice was like thunder. When these 18 auras descended, their loud shouts immediately attracted the attention of many people. When the Desolate World's army raised their heads, all of them revealed expressions of pleasant surprise. It's Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, and the others are back. The heavenly guards of our World Society are back. Cheers erupted from the World Society and the Desolate Country army. They were in a desperate situation, and their morale was boosted. Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Anye Ying, Stone, Silver Fox, and the others arrived and charged at the demon-cleansing Alliance army. Those who offend the World Society will be killed without mercy. Duo Sha shouted, and a murderous aura surged around him. Kill. Anye Ying, Yening, Intianjue, Gu Wuying, and the others all used their killing moves. Everywhere they went, a sea of blood was left. Not everyone can offend the World Society. Qingguyu shouted. The talisman patterns on his body flickered, and a talisman array spread out from his body. He was like a ferocious beast that was fearless. Qingguyu was no longer the arrogant young man in Tianwu Academy. After all these years of transformation and training, he was like a ferocious spear. Wherever the tip of the spear pointed, he would kill. Die, all of you, Qingguyu shouted. His blue and white robe flapped in the wind, and he was like a ferocious beast that was killing everything in his way. You're courting death. His silver hair fluttered in the wind, and his deep purple eyes were filled with an innate nobility. His murderous aura swept out in all directions. He was Silver Fox, one of the 18 heavenly guards. He had also ascended the Lightning Tower and become famous in Central Prefecture. Shi Tu soared into the sky with the demon beheading axe in his hand. An extremely dreadful energy swept out from the ancient axe. The axe light was like a thunderbolt falling down. A dreadful, imposing aura surged and swept across the vast sky, cleaving in all directions. Yang Yiji, Qi Guiyu, Jiang Yinfeng, Qian Ling, Mo Qianquan, Yuan Hanli, Duan Feiyu, Wen Yiqin, Mu Ruabai, and the others. At this moment, the cultivation base and strength that each and every one of them displayed was absolutely not inferior to the peak of the younger generation of the 9 great powers of the Central Plains. 18 young men soared into the sky and opened up 18 paths. The bloody slaughter was like 18 peerless, ferocious beasts soaring through the sky, and it was horrifying. The 18 celestial generals are here. Those who offend our world's society will be killed. Yi Piaoling shouted in a deep voice. His voice was piercingly cold and sharp. Rolling, faint black Xian Qi surged forward like waves. Wherever it passed, no one could stop it. Not good. It's Yi Piaoling and Changguyu. Aren't there only a few heaven general guards in the world society? Why are there 18 of them now? Where the hell did these guys come from? Why are they so strong? With the appearance of the 18 celestial generals, hundreds of millions of people on the Central Plains Long River were shocked. These guys are finally back. They even brought some impressive reinforcements. The silver-winged demonic condor, Du Xiaoman, the general, Li Yuxiao, and the others, who were in the midst of fierce battles, saw Yi Piaoling, Changguyu, Silver Fox, and the others from the corner of their eyes. Smiles appeared on their pale faces. Quick, kill those heaven general guards. Someone in the Purifying Demon Alliance's army shouted. Then, many supremacy-level experts had no choice but to free up their hands and block the 18 celestial generals. These supremacy-level experts in the Purifying Demon Alliance's army tried to stop them, but they never expected that people of the same cultivation base would be so weak in front of the 18 celestial generals. This was especially true in front of Silver Fox, Yi Piaoling, and Changguyu. Ordinary people of the same cultivation base would be instantly killed if they were caught off guard. Each of the 18 celestial generals had been tempered in the most dangerous of battles and battles. In terms of sparring, they might only have an advantage against people of the same cultivation base. However, in terms of killing, the 18 celestial generals were 18 hungry wolves, 18 ferocious cheetahs, and 18 most dangerous invisible poisonous snakes. Bastard! Kill the 18 celestial generals quickly. The 18 celestial generals were too terrifying. The moment they attacked, the Alliance army lost many supremacy-level experts. In the Purifying Demon Alliance, especially the Great Luan Sect, Spirit Sky Valley, and Sky Snake Sect, the 3 older generation experts who wanted to destroy the world society and the desolate nation, felt a lingering fear and immediately charged out in shock. These older generation experts of the Great Luan Sect, Spirit Sky Valley, and Sky Snake Munchu wanted to strangle the terrifying 18 celestial generals in the cradle. If these 18 youngsters were allowed to mature, their peers in the Central Plains would not be qualified to compete with them in the future. Rumble. Immediately, the older generation experts of the Great Luan Sect, Spirit Sky Valley, and Sky Snake Munchu stepped out and besieged the 18 celestial generals. Among them, there were 3 origin supremacies. Second brother, third brother, delay them for a while. Seeing this, Yi Piaoling's face turned cold. As her voice fell, she floated in mid-air and closed her eyes. Guard! In an instant, Qingguyu, On Ye Ing, Duo Sha, Silver Fox, and the rest of the 17 people had a tacit understanding. The 17 of them surrounded Yi Piaoling in the middle and blocked the fierce attacks of the surrounding experts. At this moment, Yi Piaoling's aura suddenly rose in a straight line. An aura that came from the netherworld soared into the sky. Rumble. In midair, a vast amount of heaven and earth energy was immediately drawn over and turned into a vortex. Under the ink-black light, it continuously poured into Yi Piaoling's body. Origin supremacies are omnipotent. They are the great Tao of heaven and earth. Origin supremacies are one and participate in heaven and earth. They are all-encompassing. Origin supremacies are empty but not empty. They are all the same as Tao. At the same time, Yi Piaoling murmured softly. As her aura rose, a black and white light circulated around her body. Oh no, this brat is going to break through to origin supremacies in the middle of the battle. Quickly kill that brat. Instantly, the older generation experts of the Alliance army who were attacking the 18 Celestial Guards shouted. The 3 origin supremacies attacked with all their might. They wanted to destroy the 18 Celestial Guards and kill Yi Piaoling, who was in the middle of breaking through. Under the full power of the Alliance army's older generation experts, Chenggu Yu and Silver Fox were slightly better off. However, Anya Shi, Stone, Duo Sha, Gu Wuying, Mu Ruabai, and the others were all severely injured. Old bastard. Us brothers are not as easy to deal with as you. Blood dripped from the corner of Duo Sha's mouth. His face looked ferocious, and his murderous aura swept across the sky. Fight! Yin Tianjue shouted. Blood dripped from his mouth, but his aura swept across the sky. It was as if he had the courage to fight against 10,000 enemies alone. Kill! The rune array on Chenggu Yu's body surged. The long spear in his hand danced. With his own strength, he fought against the origin supremacies without being at a disadvantage. Origin supremacies are all-encompassing. Today, I will break through the origin supremacies and achieve the Tao of killing. Suddenly, Yi Piaoling, whose aura was rising in the midst of the fierce battle, suddenly opened his eyes and laughed loudly. In the next moment, waves of black celestial qi surged out from Yi Piaoling's body. Each wave was fiercer than the previous one. The runes were dazzling as if they could suppress everything. There was also a murderous aura that descended from the 9 heavens. Rumble. At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder roared high up in the sky. An unprecedented murderous aura swept out from Yi Piaoling's body, causing the souls in all directions to scatter. Everyone felt a sharp murderous aura that they could not resist. The murderous aura could destroy one's primordial spirit. It made people feel as if they had fallen into the 9 nether blood sea. At the same time, Yi Piaoling's deep eyes shone like dazzling lightning. The aura on his body rose to a new level. It was the origin supremacies. The Tao of killing. That's impossible. How can this kid break through the Tao of killing? With such talent, even the average human sovereign heaven talent would find it hard to achieve. The Tao of killing. That kid has comprehended his own Tao. At this moment, countless people couldn't help but look at each other from the corners of their eyes. That terrifying murderous aura was too hair-raising. Yi Piaoling had comprehended the Tao of killing in the battle and used it to break through the origin supremacies. How impressive. Of course, this had to do with Yi Piaoling's comprehension in the outside world over the years. It wasn't something that could be achieved in the previous battle. However, the current Yi Piaoling was already enough to shock everyone. He had comprehended his own Tao in the battle and used it to break through the origin supremacies. How many people in the same generation in the entire Central Plains could be compared to him? Kid, die. The intense battle was still going on. A wooden sculpture of a primordial chaos martial venerable from the Sky Snake sect stared at Yin Tianjue, who was already severely injured. His body was wrapped in a huge black python shadow, and his overflowing cold aura was fluctuating, suppressing Yin Tianjue with a suppressive force. Puff puff. Yin Tianjue kept spurting blood from his mouth. He had exhausted all his strength. He glared and activated his martial veins. The terrifying aura that erupted was terrifying. Even so, Yin Tianjue couldn't stop it. There was still a considerable distance between him and the origin supremacies. Chapter 1400. Old 6, get out of the way. At that moment, a black figure appeared beside Tianjue like a ghost. A black energy suddenly spread out as if it could suppress everything and kill everything in the sky. As the figure appeared, it directly blocked the chaotic element martial honorable suppression with a vast and terrifying aura, causing it to be unable to advance any further. Boss has broken through. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, Tianjue's mouth was dripping with blood. His clothes were dyed red with blood, but his face was filled with joy. Buzz. At the same time, a bright light exploded in Yi Piaoling's hand. The serene python sword appeared in his hand. Liquid-like rune energy immediately flowed and spread out. An extremely terrifying energy was released and finally condensed into a gigantic serene python that was dozens of feet long. Hiss hiss. The gigantic python was like a sword and a beast. Runes filled the sky and its aura was shocking, causing one's heart to tremble. Novel. You're just a chaotic element martial honorable. I'll kill you with the Tao of killing. A sharp and terrifying roar suddenly came from Yi Piaoling's mouth. His eyes suddenly became sharp and the serene python's sword radiance immediately slashed out. A terrifying aura instantly exploded like a mountain torrent. It contained a terrifying killing aura that was enough to destroy everything. Swish. Wherever the sword radiance passed by, the space distorted. The resplendent sword radiance swept out in all directions with an extremely sharp and ear-piercing explosion. It broke through the space like lightning. Chila. Such a sword radiance finally slashed the black python shadow on the chaotic element martial honorable of the sky snake sect. It destroyed the black python sword radiance easily and destroyed the sword radiance. This sudden change caused the chaotic element martial honorable of the sky snake sect's pupils to shrink. Fear spread in his heart. Bang bang bang. As the sword radiance fell, the chaotic element martial honorable of the sky snake sect was destroyed along with the black python sword radiance. He did not have time to react before his body shattered inch by inch. A monstrous blood mist bloomed above the central region's long river like fireworks. Blood splattered in the air. A chaotic element martial honorable was killed by Yi Piaoling in one move. Swish. In the next instant, she arrived before the second Spirit Sky Valley's primordial origin martial sovereign, who was suppressing Gu Wuiying, Silver Fox, and Stone by himself. Yi Piaoling's eyes flashed with a sharp light as the killing aura descended. The serene python in her hand shot out a dazzling sword light again. Chila. Yi Piaoling's speed was like that of a venomous snake. She drew her sword at an unbelievable angle and with a ghostly momentum. It directly pierced through the chest of the Spirit Heaven Valley's primordial element martial saint. The sharp killing intent poured out like a torrential flood. How did you? The eyes of the Spirit Heaven Valley's primordial origin martial venerable were filled with fear. Before he could react, his life force had already been destroyed by the fierce killing intent, and his divine soul had been destroyed. Those who offend our world society will be killed. Yi Piaoling appeared in front of the third primordial element martial venerable of the Great Luan sect, who was suppressing Qinggu Yu. Her eyes were filled with killing intent under her messy bangs. She was like a poisonous snake without any hesitation. A rune flashed out from the serene python in her hand. Boom! A sharp and powerful killing aura suddenly erupted. Instantly, the sword radiance burst out, tearing the space apart, and a terrifying fluctuation spread out. The sword radiance in Yi Piaoling's hand cut across the sky and pierced through the Great Luan sect's primordial element martial venerable's protective halo, piercing through his throat. This is impossible, impossible. The Great Luan sect's primordial element martial venerable's eyes were filled with disbelief and despair. Even when his body turned into a bloody mist, he still couldn't believe how he had died. Walala! The black energy runes scattered, and the majestic killing aura fluctuation rippled out like giant waves, making one's hair stand on end. At this moment, Yi Piaoling stood in the air, wrapped in black energy runes. With the serene python in her hand, she looked like a peerless killing god. If this kid is not eliminated, the world society will not perish even if that demon king Du Xiaofu is not here. Countless eyes in the Alliance army trembled. At this moment, the black-robed youth had broken through the primordial element martial venerables with killing intent. He had killed 3 primordial element martial venerables in 3 moves. Such an existence could no longer be described as terrifying. He was simply a killing god. 18 celestial guards, kill. Yi Piaoling stood in the air, her black robe fluttering in the wind. She shouted fiercely as she led the 18 celestial guards to launch a counterattack with unparalleled ferocity. Rumble, muffled sounds rang out everywhere, and the cries of killing shook the heavens. There were still screams everywhere. The addition of the 18 celestial guards gave the World Society, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Profound Talisman Sect a boost in morale. However, it didn't stop the World Society from losing. The arrival of the 18 celestial guards with such ferocious killing intent only affected the Evil Purifying Alliance's army. They also lost many experts. However, there were too many experts in the Evil Purifying Alliance's army. The arrival of the 18 celestial guards hadn't truly reached the level where they could turn the tide of the battle. However, the appearance of the 18 celestial guards had greatly reduced the pressure on the experts of the World Society, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Profound Talisman Sect. The experts of the World Society who were besieging the Ancient Heaven Sect, the Profound Talisman Sect, and the Ancient Heaven Sect had no choice but to free up some people to block the 18 celestial guards. The battle continued, and it was still tragic. The terrifying confrontation, the cries of killing, and the muffled sounds of energy were like endless thunder. Waves of energy spread out, sweeping out in all directions like a storm. The North vanquishing Prince, the South vanquishing Prince, the East vanquishing Prince, and the Lightning racing Prince were also in a fierce battle. They were all injured, and the situation wasn't very optimistic. Little Martial King, go to hell. A gray-robed old man with a cultivation of the martial royal realm sneered coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he pounced on a beautiful woman in a red dress. The beautiful woman in a red dress was surrounded by runes. The sword radiance in her hand flashed violently, but she couldn't stop the attack of a martial royal realm cultivator. Dark red blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Sister Shan, not far away, a handsome middle-aged man shouted with a solemn expression. He activated his pulse soul and gave it his all. However, he was besieged by several experts of the Evil Purifying Alliance and couldn't save the beautiful woman in red. Brother Ling, I can't stay by your side in this life. You must take good care of yourself and Shuang. Seeing the fierce killing intent sweeping over, the beautiful woman in a red dress smiled helplessly and said to the handsome middle-aged man not far away. The terrifying attack was too powerful for her to block. At this critical moment, when the fierce killing intent was about to sweep in front of the beautiful woman in a red dress, the martial royal realm cultivator who was sneering coldly suddenly exploded into a bloody mist. The fierce attack stopped abruptly. Walala! The bloody mist poured out, and the energy swept in all directions. After the bloody mist dispersed, runes flashed. The beautiful woman in a red dress was shocked to see a woman with a devilishly seductive figure and a beautiful face appear. The woman was in her 20s. She wasn't old, and her clothes outlined her devilishly seductive figure. The most terrifying thing was the aura that spread out from her graceful figure. It was so terrifying that it froze the surrounding void. The beautiful woman was Ouyang Shuang. She secretly came down from the mountain and passed by the central province's long river. She saw this battle. Under the many familiar auras, Ouyang Shuang immediately rushed to the scene and saw her mother, Yuan Shanshan, in danger. Shuang looking at the woman who suddenly appeared, Yuan Shanshan was shocked and surprised. Suddenly, her expression changed and she said, Shuang be careful behind you. Ouyang Shuang didn't even look back. Before a martial royal realm cultivator, who was at the peak of the perfect martial royal realm, could get close, the surrounding space suddenly distorted. Then, his body exploded in the distorted space. Bang, bang, bang. At the same time, Ouyang Shuang formed a hand seal in her hand, and an invisible wave spread out from the surrounding space. The cultivators from the Evil Purifying Alliance who were surrounding Ouyang Ling exploded one by one. They didn't even know how they died. Mother, father, what happened? Ouyang Shuang's figure flashed out and instantly arrived beside Yuan Shanshan and Ouyang Ling. She also handed several pills to the two of them. She glanced at the intense battle around her from the corner of her eyes, and her expression darkened. She could roughly guess the situation. The Great Luan Sect, Spirit Sky Valley, Sky Serpent Sect, and the others have formed the Evil Purifying Alliance. They're looking for an excuse to attack the desolate country. The Ancient Heaven Sect and the Mysterious Charm Sect are helping us. They're so powerful that we can't fight them head-on. Ouyang Ling took the elixirs from his daughter's hand and stuffed them into his mouth. He was shocked when he felt the aura from his daughter's body. However, at the same time, he explained the general situation to Ouyang Shuang. Yuan Shanshan didn't have time to chat with her daughter, whom she hadn't seen for many years. Her expression turned serious and she reminded her, "Our situation isn't looking good. If there's a chance, retreat with the desolate country and the world society. Father, mother, protect yourselves. There's no need to worry about me," Ouyang Shuang said to her parents. Then, her lithe figure turned around. Her eyes shone brightly and shot up into the sky. The aura from her body swept out like a storm. Those who invade the desolate country die. A clear and cold aura swept across the sky like a sudden clap of thunder. As it came from Ouyang Shuang's mouth, she reached out with her delicate hand. A bright light surged out and a vast and dark aura swept out, suppressing the surroundings. Holding the Taowu sword in her hand, Ouyang Shuang stood in the air. It was as if she could slash through the void and slaughter everyone in her way. Kill. In an instant, Ouyang Shuang pounced out. Her targets were the honorable realm experts from the Evil Purifying Alliance. Wherever she passed, honorable realm experts were slaughtered like ants. Ouyang Shuang is back. How did that girl become so powerful? She doesn't seem to be weaker than Yi Piaoling. After the astonishment in the World Society, Tianwu Academy, and the desolate country, a trace of hope appeared in everyone's eyes. Rumble. The entire central region's long river trembled and stormy waves rose. The scene was fiery and tragic. The smell of blood filled the sky, and the air was filled with a murderous aura that couldn't be dispersed by the wind. In a corner, a bloody aura and remnant souls gathered. A lithe lady in a red dress that was as red as blood formed a moving arc in the air. Her hair danced in the wind, making her look like a demoness. Chapter 1401. The woman was the phantom. Not long ago, she was severely injured and almost escaped. Now, strange runes spread all over her body, absorbing the evil blood qi in the air to recover and strengthen herself. The monstrous evil blood qi and the remnant soul energy in the air were exactly what the phantom needed the most. I let you escape a few days ago. Today, you can't escape. As the gloomy old voice finished speaking, an old man in plain clothes with his hair in a bun appeared near the phantom. His aura could distort the space. This old man was none other than the Changdao Taoist of the Great Wheel Sect. The phantom looked up and immediately looked at the Changdao Taoist. Her beautiful figure dashed across the sky with monstrous evil qi. Her eyes were red and scary. She asked in a cold voice, "Where are Shosha and Hun Xie? I'm afraid those two evil spirits will no longer exist in this world. You'll pay with your life for them." The phantom's face changed. Her red dress fluttered, and the evil blood qi permeated the air, making the surroundings extremely cold. A suction force seemed to form around her, spinning like a whirlpool. Then, a beam of red light shot out like a bright thunderbolt, heading straight for the Changdao Taoist. "You're overestimating yourself." The Changdao Taoist sneered and didn't care. He was at the peak of the Origin Martial Venerable, almost half a step away from the Nirvana Martial Venerable level. Even if it was a demon spirit in the Perfection level, he didn't have to worry about it. The dazzling light around him turned into a light wheel, obliterating the beam of red light that could pierce through the void. The phantom looked serious. She knew that the old man was powerful, but now she had no other choice. Her graceful figure leaped across the sky, graceful and moving. She was extremely beautiful in this serious situation, moving people's hearts. At the same time, Runes with monstrous bloody light spread out from her graceful body, turning into a blood river in the void. In the blood river, a huge red spider lily bloomed like blood, dripping with the aura of reincarnation. The phantom turned into her original form. The blood river rolled, and the evil blood chi filled the sky, sweeping toward the Changdao Taoist. It's the body of the red spider lily. When the Changdao Taoist saw the phantom's original form, his eyes suddenly blazed. The red spider lily was an absolute treasure. Demon, don't be impudent. At the same time, the old Taoist of Changdao attacked again. Waves of terrifying aura spread out from his body into the sky, causing the wind to blow and the clouds to surge. The light shone brightly like holy light, which could purify evil and destroy the evil spirit brought about by the phantom. Walala! The phantom's true form, the red spider lily, bloomed. It was beautiful and moving. The blood river around them roiled, but it was unable to resist the holy light that covered the sky and was gradually being suppressed. It didn't take long for the river of blood around the phantom's body to be crushed. Jejia, the old Taoist of Changdao, sneered and looked at the glittering red spider lily in the blood river. A red spider lily of this level was an absolute treasure. Sister Phantom, we're here to help you. Two graceful figures jumped out, and two streaks of rune energy swept toward the Taoist priest of Changdao. The two graceful figures had completely opposite temperaments. One had slender legs, seductive curves, and provocative clothes. The other was antique and noble. The two women were Morong Yurua and Li Shui. They helped the phantom and attacked the old Taoist priest of Changdao. However, facing the attacks of Morong Yurua and Li Shui, the old Taoist priest of Changdao didn't even look back. He shook his hand backward, and an invisible energy wave rushed out and directly dissolved the attacks of Morong Yurua and Li Shui. He continued to reach out, and a claw print twisted the blood river and continued to grab the phantom's body. Swish! Morong Yurua looked serious. Her strength was far inferior to the phantom's, let alone the old man's. But at this moment, seeing the phantom in danger, she bit her red lips with her white teeth and poured out all her chi. The next moment, her beautiful figure was like lightning. At the same time, she summoned a long sword in her hand. The sword radiance swept through the air and went straight to the old Taoist priest of Changdao. Bitch who overestimates herself, you're courting death. Sensing Morong Yurua's attack again, the old Taoist priest of Changdao was enraged. He gave up on the phantom and suddenly turned around. With murderous intent in his eyes, the claw print changed from a claw to a palm. It shone brightly and directly slapped toward Morong Yurua. Yurua, watch out! With the sudden change, the bloody light of the phantom red spider lily rushed out. The bloody giant waves in the blood river that had been suppressed rushed out and directly blocked in front of Morong Yurua, facing the old Taoist priest of Changdao. But at this moment, the giant waves of the blood river couldn't stop the attack of the old Taoist priest of Changdao. After his palm print pierced through the bloody giant waves, it directly destroyed the sword radiance in Morong Yurua's hand. Crack! The extraordinary long sword in Morong Yurua's hand shattered. The old Taoist priest of Changdao's palm print pierced through the void. Although it was weakened by the phantom's block and wear, it still fell on Morong Yurua. At this critical moment, Morong Yurua's body was covered with a protective armor. An ancient aura filled the air and spread out a bright light. But it was only an instant, and the armor on Morong Yurua's body was shattered into pieces. Blood spurted out of her mouth, and her delicate body suddenly flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Sister Yurua, Li Shui's delicate face turned pale with fright. She flew straight to Morong Yurua, trying to pull her back. But the terrible impact was beyond Li Shui's imagination. Her body was directly shaken away, and she spat out mouthfuls of blood. Be careful. Suddenly, a tall figure in a blue and white robe appeared behind Li Shui and supported her delicate body that was shaken away. A gentle force stopped Li Shui from falling. The eyes of the tall figure were like a ferocious beast as he looked at Li Shui in his hand. A complicated and gentle expression appeared on his face as he softly asked, "How is it?" Li Shui stopped. She looked at the figure that suddenly appeared with a surprised expression, and her eyes were filled with some complicated emotions. The figure that suddenly appeared in front of her was Qingguyu. But in an instant, Li Shui came back to her senses and said to Qingguyu, "I'm fine. Go and see Sister Yurua." Hearing this, Qingguyu's expression suddenly changed. He immediately looked over, but then his eyes revealed a puzzled expression. Murong Yurua, who had just been severely shaken away, had stabilized her body. She was being held in the arms of a woman in her early 20s. This woman held Murong Yurua's delicate body, and there was a dazzling white light around her. It was like a divine light that spread out, with an indescribable coercion. The light shrouded and diffused, as if it was a cage of smoke, graceful and light. At this moment, there was a 14 or 15-year-old girl in green standing quietly beside this woman. Under her long eyelashes, her clear and bright eyes carried a faint blue light. At this moment, Murong Yurua's body was dripping with blood, and she had lost consciousness. The woman's expression was solemn. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted, and tears were about to fall from her eyes. She stuffed a bright elixir into Murong Yurua's mouth. Then, a soft white light, like a divine light, entered Murong Yurua's back. She muttered softly, "Aunt, Xingyu is back. You will be fine. You will be fine." Looking at the two extraordinary women who suddenly appeared, Qingguyu and Li Shui, who was also seriously injured, revealed puzzled expressions. They clearly felt that these two women were extraordinary. Boom! Suddenly, it was also at this moment that the space above the 8,000-li-long Central Province River began to tremble. This kind of spatial tremor had nothing to do with the energy turbulence in the surroundings at this moment. The two armies that were fighting immediately noticed this strange and astonishing change. The area of spatial tremor grew larger and larger, and strange dark clouds began to appear in the sky. This was different from the surging clouds caused by the powerful cultivators in the surroundings. It revealed a vast momentum. Walala! In just a short time, by the time someone noticed this disturbance, an enormous whirlpool began to spin in the center of the region of water that had been dyed red with blood and corpses for thousands of li. It was enormous and was accompanied by the radiance of ancient symbols. The whirlpool grew larger and larger, as if there was a huge world inside the water that was about to erupt. An ancient aura that made one's heart tremble spread out from it. This change immediately greatly affected the fierce battle on the battlefield. Demon beasts roared, and giant ships shook violently. Under the influence of the whirlpool, huge blood-red waves rose to a height of 100 feet. What a terrifying aura! What's going on? It seems like something is coming out from inside. Could it be that a treasure is about to appear? Countless eyes trembled. The armies that were fighting were greatly affected and retreated. The demon beasts in the water hissed and retreated. The top experts of the younger generation and the experts of the older generation who were fighting also noticed the sudden change above the Central Province River at this moment. The whirlpool surged, and huge waves surged out in all directions. It was like a tsunami, pouring down like a waterfall, accompanied by a river of blood. It was like a blood-red wave that swept in all directions. It was as if the blood river of 8,000 miles was surging. A terrifying ancient aura spread out from within the vortex. Gradually, a huge silhouette began to appear within the vortex. It was like a huge mountain range that stretched far into the distance, covering a huge area. This mountain range seemed to have risen from the ground of the central province. It appeared in an astonishing manner. Multicolored light spread out, and the aura was ancient, as if it came from a distant ancient space. What's going on? At this moment, such a huge change almost caused the entire battlefield to stagnate. Even the top experts of the major forces who were fighting above the sea of clouds in the sky were paying close attention at this moment. Many of their auras were concealed. If a shocking treasure was about to appear, those top experts would immediately stop fighting and rush in to fight for the treasure. Whoosh, 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 however. All of this seemed to be beyond everyone's expectations. Just as the fierce battlefield that had almost stopped fighting and was watched by hundreds of millions of eyes, no treasure appeared in the terrifying whirlpool. Instead, 3 figures rushed out from it and landed above the Central Province River. Chapter 1402. Under the gazes of countless people, everyone thought that a great treasure had appeared on the central province Long River. They didn't expect to see only 3 figures. With the appearance of these 3 figures, the shocking commotion on the central province Long River gradually disappeared and calmed down. However, at this moment, the 3 figures appeared in the air above the 8,000-mile Blood River, making everyone look at each other. The 3 figures, 1 woman and 2 men, were floating in the air. They were all extremely young. The woman in the middle had her hair tied up loosely behind her head. She had an enchanting temperament, but there was a kind of holy beauty that could make people fall in love with her. In particular, her pitch-black and ethereal eyes had a faint green and red color, making people remember her at a glance. All the demonic beasts in the water and the army of demonic beasts felt a terrifying pressure just by looking at the beautiful woman. The demonic beasts roared with fear. On the right of the woman was a tall and sturdy young man in a black robe. His facial features were as deep as a sculpture, and there was a chiseled coldness to him. His dark and deep eyes were pure black, and he exuded an awe-inspiring aura of a king. However, when the hundreds of millions of gazes fell on the 3 figures, many people in the army of both sides suddenly changed their expressions when they saw the beautiful woman and the black-robed young man. It's them, Du Shaoqing and Little Tiger. It's Du Shaoqing and Little Tiger from the World Society. They have ascended the lightning attraction platform before, and Du Shaoqing is one of the top 10 Heaven's Prides. In an instant, there was a lot of commotion in the evil purifying alliance. Back in the sealed ancient land, Du Shaoqing and Little Tiger had shocked too many people. Du Shaoqing is back. Amidst the shocking commotion in the central province Long River, Zhou Zhongling, Ming Rongyin, Wu Ming, and Jiang Wolin, who were fighting with Du Xiaoman, Zhu Shui, Shui Ruhan, and Shan Yin, looked at the beautiful woman in the air in front of them. They were naturally very familiar with her. The beautiful woman who suddenly appeared under the central province Long River was Du Shaoqing from the World Society. Little Green and Little Tiger are back. There seems to be the aura of a small demon. Is that golden-robed young man a small demon? At the same time, Du Xiaoman, Yi Piaoling, Lu Ling, Shui Ruhan, and Zhu Shui, who were in the World Society and the Ancient Heaven Sect, also recognized Du Shaoqing. The entire arena came to a strange standstill at this moment. Everyone's gazes were astonished as they looked at the 3 figures that had suddenly appeared. At this moment, the 3 youthful figures that appeared above the central province's Long River were Du Shaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and Du Xiaohu. The 3 of them had originally intended to return to the desolate country from the farmer's home. However, they did not expect to see such a huge battle the moment they stepped out of the central region's Long River. The entire central region's Long River was stained with blood. Du Shaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Tiger's gazes turned from confusion and surprise to coldness in an instant when they swept their gazes across the sky. At this moment, there were familiar figures of experts from the World Society, the Desolate Nation, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Profound Talisman School. Naturally, Du Shaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and Du Xiaohu were no strangers to them. Looking at the bloody battlefield, Du Shaoqing, Little Tiger, and Du Xiaoyao immediately understood what was going on. There was an army fighting against the Desolate Country, the World Society, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Profound Talisman Sect. Judging from the aura and formation, it seemed to be an army led by the Great Luan Sect, the Profound Underworld Sect, the Sky Serpent Sect, the Huijian Sect, the Shindu Gate, the Immeasurable Sect, and the Spirit Sky Valley. The Great Luan Sect, the Immeasurable Sect, and the rest of the 7 forces, including Dongli Qihuang, Zhu Zhongling, Wu Ming, Jiang Wolin, Du Shaoqing, Little Tiger, and Du Xiaoyao, were definitely not unfamiliar with them. They had interacted quite a bit back in the sealed ancient land. With the Great Luan Sect and the Sky Serpent Sect among them, Du Shaoqing did not even need to think too much about the 7 forces going against the World Society. She was already certain of the general situation. Greetings, Deputy Palace Master. At the same time, the silver-winged demonic condor, the subduing tiger tyrannical mastiff, and the blue flames scarlet leopard flew across the sky. Their voices spread out in all directions. Greetings, Deputy Palace Master. Within the heavenly beast hall, countless demonic beasts saluted. Their roars resounded through the long river like rolling thunder. Who dares to offend my world society? Du Xiaoqing's beautiful and harmless face was now filled with coldness. Her voice was not loud, but it swept through the sky and shook one's origin spirit. Deputy Palace Master, the Great Luan Sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, the Sky Serpent Sect, and the rest of the evil purifying alliance have offended my Shweb order and killed my disciples. The blue flame scarlet leopard spoke. Its huge body was covered in scarlet flames, but it was also covered in wounds after being surrounded by so many experts from the evil purifying alliance. Bullshit, evil purifying alliance. You're all courting death. As soon as the blue flame scarlet leopard finished speaking, a thunderous roar came from the little tiger's mouth. His black robe fluttered, and black runes shot into the sky from his body. At this moment, the roar that came from the little tiger's mouth was like the roar of a giant tiger. One could clearly see the spatial ripples that were stirred up by the sound waves surging out in all directions. Under such a sound wave, the blood waves in the central region's long river surged like raging waves hitting the shore. It shook the world until it roared, and the scene was terrifying. When such a terrifying roar spread out, the countless demonic beasts around the battlefield immediately trembled. Under the huge pressure, their souls were shocked, and their physical bodies were about to explode. So strong. The gazes of Zhu Ling, Wu Ming, Jiang Ruolin, and countless others trembled as they stared at the young man in black robes, whose black eyes were like those of a tiger watching its prey. They were dumbfounded and their hearts were filled with shock. Just the roar from the little tiger's mouth was like the roar of a supreme beast. It could move mountains and rivers, suppress tens of thousands of demonic beasts, and make their primordial spirits tremble. There was no doubt that little tiger's strength had reached an astonishing and terrifying level. Puqi, Dongli Qihuang, and Du Yunlong were still fighting fiercely. Du Yunlong was no match for Yi Qingyu, and fresh blood spurted out from his mouth again. At this moment, Du Yunlong's thunder martial vein was also suppressed until it dimmed, but it still revealed a domineering killing intent. The blood at the corner of his mouth added to his ferocity. In addition, his murderous aura was not much weaker than Yi Piaoling's. At this moment, he looked more like an injured, ferocious beast. The Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix wanted to attack again. Even the huge commotion on the central prefecture's long river didn't stop. He wanted to get rid of Du Yunlong once and for all. Otherwise, he would definitely be a huge threat in the future. Once Du Yunlong's wings were fully developed, with his talent, he would definitely bring endless trouble to the entire Great Luan sect. In the fight just now, Dongli Qihuang felt how terrifying Du Yunlong was. His killing intent was fierce, and his physical body was even stronger than those demonic beasts at the top of the heavenly beast list. In particular, Du Yunlong's strange thunder martial vein seemed to be the same as the demon king Du Xiaofu's. Although it did not seem to be as terrifying as Du Xiaofu's, it was definitely terrifying. At this moment, Du Yunlong's cultivation was at the peak of the transcendent martial venerable realm. He was probably able to contend with a chaotic element martial venerable, or even a top chaotic element martial venerable without being defeated. At the beginning, Dongli Qihuang knew that Du Yunlong was extraordinary. However, due to his pride, he did not use too much strength. In the end, the result was shocking again and again. Although he had completely suppressed and severely injured Du Yunlong, Dongli Qihuang had not reached the point of using his full strength. However, it was enough to shock him. If they were at the same cultivation level, Dongli Qihuang felt that he would not be able to do anything to Du Yunlong even if he relied on the state of mind of his previous life. He might not even be able to defeat him. This made Dongli Qihuang even more determined to kill Du Yunlong. Suddenly, when he heard that shocking shout, Dongli Qihuang's heart could not help but tremble. The pressure contained in that shocking shout caused Dongli Qihuang's expression to darken. He paused and turned his gaze slightly to look at Little Tiger, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Xiaoyao, who were really behind him. At this moment, Du Yunlong's body was covered in wounds, and his aura was weak. His body was wrapped in purple lightning arcs. Only then did he have the time to withdraw and look at Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Tiger. World Society, Desolate Country, Ancient Heaven Sect, and the rest of the heavenly beast halls line up, retreat. As Little Tiger's shout fell, Du Xiaoqing's beautiful figure took a few steps forward. Her long skirt fluttered, and there was already a faint green-red flame burning on her body. Her clear voice also resounded in the air. Hearing Du Xiaoqing's words and Little Tiger's angry tiger roar, the entire battlefield above the central province's long river came to a standstill. Only the puppet army controlled by Master Apothecary Yi Wuming and the puppet sect's Gu Zhangyu were still fighting. Subsequently, the Desolate Country's World Society, Ancient Heaven Sect, and Mysterious Talisman Sect's armies were slightly puzzled. When they saw that some people had already retreated after hearing the command, they immediately retreated. The two armies that were fighting fiercely separated due to the huge commotion and deterrence caused by the sudden appearance of Du Xiaoqing and the others. Master Apothecary Yi Wuming and the puppet sect's Gu Zhangyu looked at Du Xiaoqing in the air in front of them and frowned slightly. There was a slight fluctuation in their eyes as they controlled the puppet army to retreat. However, at this moment, this unstoppable and fearless army of puppets had suffered significant losses under the obstruction and destruction of the Demon Cleansing Alliance's experts. The two armies in the fierce battle retreated. Both of them were somewhat suspicious and surprised. Whoosh whoosh. Subsequently, Du Xiaoman, Du Yunlong, Du Yu, Du Shui, General, Gu Xinyan, Master Apothecary, Shui Ruhan, Zhu Shui, Yi Piaoling, and the rest of the 18 celestial guards immediately appeared behind Du Xiaoqing. Yi Zijin, who was fighting with the Sky Snake sect's Shi Longyang, still had the upper hand in front of Shi Longyang and severely injured him. Chapter 1403. On the other hand, the Ancient Heaven sect's Gu Ling, who had the body of a demonic beast, was one of the top leaders of the younger generation of the Ancient Heaven sect. However, even after using his true body, he was still severely injured by Enlingjun. When they were in the sealed ancient land, Shenling's strength was definitely not below Enlingjun's. However, when Enlingjun appeared again as a dark horse, Shenling could no longer do anything. Seeing the strange atmosphere and changes in the surroundings, Enlingjun's expression changed. He relaxed Shenling and looked at Du Xiaoqing in the sky. He naturally knew Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger. Shenling was also able to escape at this moment. He withdrew his body and returned to Shui Ruhan's side. He was covered in wounds and dripping with blood. Looking at Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger, he felt his beast soul tremble for no reason. Many people who were familiar with Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger realized that the aura of Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger was completely different from when they were in the sealed ancient land. Is it? Ouyang Shuang's beautiful figure appeared in the sky. She held the swan and eye sword and appeared beside Du Xiaoqing with a vast childishness. Sister Shuang. Seeing Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaoqing's ethereal eyes showed some gentleness. Everything took a long time to describe, but it only took a short 10 breaths of time before the two sides separated. In the Purifying Evil Alliance, Juling, Zhang Ruolin, Wu Ming, and Ming Rong stood together. On the other hand, Enlingjun, Shi Longyang, Dongli Crimson Phoenix, and the others quietly stood in unison, and their gazes were fixed on Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaohu, and the others. On the other hand, the Ancient Sky Sect, Profound Talisman Sect, and Desolate Countries lineup was led by Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Du Xiaoyao, and Ouyang Shuang. Xiaoqing, they have a lot of people. If there's a chance later, take the World Society and the Barren Nations Foundation away, Du Xiaoman said to Du Xiaoqing. The World Society and the Barren Nation had to leave behind their foundation. Sister Xiaoman, leave everything to me. Not everyone can touch the world just because they want to. Du Xiaoqing said to Du Xiaoman. She looked at Dongli Qi Huang and the others, and the azure-red light in her eyes shone brighter and brighter. Those who hurt my aunt die. Suddenly, in this strange and tense atmosphere, a clear and cold voice came from the side. That voice was icy cold, like a cold wind blowing through a glacier, causing people to shiver uncontrollably. This voice was clearly filled with astonishing killing intent, but when one heard it, it also seemed incomparably pure. It was as if the purest water had turned into ice, pure white and flawless. However, that coldness was bone-chilling. Everyone heard the voice and looked over. Finally, Their gazes fell on a woman in her early 20s. At this moment, a dazzling light gushed out from the woman's eyes. The light lingered around her, and she was surrounded by smoke. She was so beautiful that she stunned the world. No one recognized this gorgeous woman. In fact, only a few people knew when this gorgeous woman had appeared. Could it be? Ouyang Shuang looked up. There was some surprise in her big eyes. She seemed to have sensed a familiar aura. Under everyone's gaze, the beautiful woman had already walked out of the sky. Morong Yurua, who had fainted in her arms, had been handed over to the 14 or 15-year-old girl in cyan beside her. Her target was the Taoist of Changdao, the Great Wheel sect, who was still attacking the Phantom's true body, Red Spider Lily. The beautiful woman's figure directly crossed the space and entered the blood river where the Taoist of Changdao and the Phantom were fighting, as if nothing had happened. The Taoist of Changdao was surrounded by holy light. He waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and dazzling runes flew out. It was like a holy light rainstorm, crushing the Phantom one after another and solidifying the blood river. The old Taoist of Changdao was determined to get this demon spirit. A treasure like the red spider lily could only be found by chance, not by asking for it. A red spider lily of this level was even more precious. Therefore, even if the Taoist of Changdao felt the shocking changes around him and the weird oppressive atmosphere, he didn't stop. He wanted to get rid of red spider lily completely. Suddenly, he felt an inexplicable aura approaching. The Taoist of Changdao was shocked. He immediately turned around and saw a woman in her early 20s. His old face suddenly turned cold. "You hurt my aunt. You must die today." The beautiful woman stopped above the blood river and looked at the Taoist of Changdao. Her pure eyes were filled with cold killing intent. "Little bitch, you overestimate yourself. Go to hell." The Taoist of Changdao was shocked. When he turned around and saw that it was a woman in her early 20s, he didn't take her seriously. He wanted to get rid of her completely so that she wouldn't get in his way. Sizzle. The Taoist of Changdao looked cold and disdainful. He shook the horsetail whisk in his hand. Suddenly, dense holy light pierced through the void like arrows, with dazzling light and ear-piercing whooshing sounds. They shot toward the beautiful woman fiercely. The beautiful woman didn't move at all in the face of the holy light of the horsetail whisk that could pierce through the void. Instead of retreating, she moved forward. Her graceful figure flew out again. Splash! When the holy light of the horsetail whisk that could pierce through the void appeared in front of the beautiful woman, it automatically shattered and disappeared without a trace. When the Taoist of Changdao came out, his face suddenly changed color. Before he could react, the beautiful woman had already appeared in front of him strangely. The Taoist of Changdao didn't have time to react. The beautiful woman's delicate hand had already swooped down toward the Taoist of Changdao. At this moment, under the gaze of hundreds of millions of people around, the holy light of the horsetail whisk that the Taoist of Changdao had activated shattered inch by inch wherever the beautiful woman passed by. Her delicate hand reached out. Crack, crack. In the next moment, the extraordinary horsetail whisk in the Taoist of Changdao's hand was at least at the level of a Dharma artifact. It wasn't an ordinary Dharma artifact, but under the beautiful woman's claw print that quietly distorted the void, the horsetail whisk directly shattered with a series of cracking sounds. "You're just a half step away from Nirvana, Marshal Venerable. How dare you hurt my aunt? Go to hell." The bone-chilling voice rang out again from the beautiful woman's red lips. The claw print under her delicate hand directly covered the old body of the Taoist of Changdao. The beautiful woman was the little girl from Lanling City, Dai Xingyu. But at this moment, she was no longer the little girl who couldn't activate the talisman array when she was nervous. At this moment, Dai Xingyu was the only direct disciple of the mysterious beautiful woman in plain clothes. She was the top existence among the younger generation in the world. 9-star spiritual talisman master, my life is over. At the last moment, the Taoist of Changdao seemed to have discovered the cultivation and strength of the beautiful woman in front of him. She was a real 9-star spiritual talisman master, an existence at the domain realm. At this moment, the vast power had already controlled the surrounding void. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to, and there was no way for him to do so. Panic and despair poured out of the eyes on his old face. Puff, puff. Blood spurted out from the mouth of the Taoist of Changdao. The light around his body directly cracked under Du Xiaoyao's claw print. Finally, his body shattered and exploded in the void. Swish. The moment his body exploded, a bright light rushed out from the bloody mist of the Taoist of Changdao's body. It was the body of the primordial spirit, and it wanted to take the opportunity to escape. Swish. Dai Xingyu attacked. A fingerprint swept out and directly penetrated the primordial spirit that rushed to the leader. It shattered the primordial spirit into pieces, and the overwhelming energy of the remnant soul swept out. Swish. At this moment, the phantom's true form, the red spider lily, exploded. The blood river surged and immediately engulfed the remnant soul of the Taoist of Changdao. The Taoist of Changdao was at the half-step to nirvana level. He was a famous powerhouse in the entire Zhongzhou state. Even Elder Gu Qingyang of the ancient heaven sect could only suppress the Taoist of Changdao, but he couldn't do anything to him. At this moment, in the hands of the beautiful woman, he was directly killed with a single move. The primordial spirit didn't even have a chance to escape. This scene was completed in the blink of an eye by Dai Xingyu. It was as fast as lightning, and countless people around didn't even come to their senses. Huff! Countless people gasped, and the whole place fell into a strange silence. She is a 9-star spiritual talisman master. Some top powerhouses couldn't help but exclaim and attack. They felt the energy of the beautiful woman. She was a 9-star spiritual talisman master. In the Purifying Evil Alliance, Dongli Qihuang and Lingjun, Shilong Yang, Ninefold Spirit, John Doe, and Zhang Ruolin were all shocked. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Ouyang Shuang, Yi Piaoling, Qin Guyu, the Silver-Winged Demonic Eagle, Yi Wuming, Eagle King, Gong Dao, Xiang Ling, Shui Ruhan, Yin Machin, Mi Zixia, Zhu Shui, and Shun Yin were all stunned and couldn't come to their senses for a long time. No one had thought that the seemingly young girl was a freakish 9-star spiritual talisman master who killed the Taoist of Changdao with one move. A 9-star spiritual talisman master was equal to a domain-level powerhouse. Who is she? Du Xiaoqing looked at the beautiful woman in the distance and asked. Her eyes were also filled with green and red light. Ouyang Shuang looked at Dai Xingyu from afar. At this moment, she had already confirmed it. Her large eyes glowed, and a smile that could topple nations appeared on her face. She opened her silver teeth slightly, and her voice was accompanied by profound energy. She is the younger sister of the World Society's president, Du Xiaofu. Her voice echoed in the long river of Zhongzhou and entered everyone's ears. She is the president's younger sister. At this moment, all the World Society disciples were trembling. Such a powerhouse was the president's younger sister, the reinforcements of the World Society. Hearing that, Dongli Qihuang, Shilong Yang, and Lingjun, and the others' expressions suddenly became very complicated. So it is Sister Xingyu. I heard my brother mention her before. Du Xiaoqing said. A smile that was as beautiful as a cactus flower appeared on her beautiful face. She opened her red lips and said, My brother has more than one sister. I have one too. Chapter 1404. As soon as she finished speaking, Du Xiaoqing's beautiful figure leaped into the air. Her eyes, which were filled with cyan red light, began to dance like flames. A horrible cyan red light also spread out from Du Xiaoqing's body, aiming at Dongli Qihuang. Her delicate red lips opened slightly, and her voice was cold and clear. She said, Dongli Qihuang, how dare you offend the World Society when my brother is not here? Today, you will pay the price for this. Being targeted by Du Xiaoqing, Dongli Qihuang sneered in shock because of the death of the Changdao old Taoist. His blonde hair and red robe fluttered, and his aura became fierce and cold. He looked straight at Du Xiaoqing and said in a gloomy and unruly voice, You killed the people of the Daluan sect. After today, there will be no World Society. Move the World Society. Your grandpa will kill you first. Bullshit evil purifying alliance. Little Tiger roared, and his black robe fluttered. He didn't choose in Lingjun, but John Doe, who was standing with Ninefold Spirit, Zhang Ruolin, and Ming Rongyi. Boom! Directly targeting John Doe, Little Tiger stepped into the air and swept his long sleeves. Black runes surged out like a black tide, and clouds appeared under his feet. For no reason, there was a kind of power that could collapse mountains and crack the earth. Being targeted by Little Tiger at this moment, John Doe's heart also trembled. John Doe probably knew why he was targeted by Little Tiger. When he was in the sealed ancient land, he had hurt that demonic tiger. At this moment, the demonic tiger's target was him. It was probably because of the original reason. Bullshit evil purifying alliance. As if seeing Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Tiger come out, Ouyang Shuang didn't want to be left behind. She directly flew into the air and aimed at An Lingjun of Spirit Sky Valley. After Dai Xingyu killed the old Taoist of Changdao with one move, the people around still hadn't recovered from the shock. At this moment, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Little Tiger, and Ouyang Shuang had already appeared in front of Dongli Qihuang, Shilongyang, Nameless, and An Lingjun in a flash. This made the surrounding spectators a little dizzy. Everything happened as fast as lightning. With Du Xiaoqing's current cultivation and speed, everything happened in the blink of an eye. Humph! As Du Xiaoqing flew over, Dongli Qihuang stared at Du Xiaoqing. A dazzling radiance of energy radiated from his body. The radiance was like holy light, and the energy fluctuations soared hundreds of meters high. The energy surged like waves, sealing and solidifying a large area of space. It directly enveloped Du Xiaoqing. Rumble! The terrifying holy light seemed to turn into a divine ring, and the surrounding space suddenly exploded with terrifying energy. The shocking energy fluctuations surged like gorgeous fireworks, but they contained a terrifying aura. It stirred up circles of space ripples in the surrounding space, and the waves in the Governor River below were surging endlessly. Almost at the same time, Shilongyang, Nameless, and An Lingjun also attacked at the same time. Because of Dai Xingyu's terrifying aura and the oppressive aura of Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger, Shilongyang, Nameless, and An Lingjun, these three extraordinary people started to feel a little uneasy. They took the initiative to attack with all their might and didn't dare to be careless. Hiss! Shilongyang made his move. The runes shone brightly and were released into the sky, stirring up waves of qi that surged into the sky, causing the void to be filled with brilliance. Then, the bright runes interweaved like the waves of the sea, transforming into a huge phantom of a divine python that soared into the sky. Its pressure distorted the space as it pounced towards Du Xiaoyao. Three divine swords. Nameless already knew of Little Tiger's strength, so he didn't dare to be careless at this moment. He condensed his hand seals, and suddenly, the three treasured swords on his back were unsheathed. The sound of wind and thunder was loud, and they turned into three shocking rainbows. Rumble! Wherever the three rainbow-like sword rays passed, they were accompanied by lightning and thunder. Mysterious and bright runes appeared, and the energy was monstrous. It was as if the earth was overturned, and the mountains and seas were moved. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The three rainbow-like sword rays swept out like lightning, and it was as if thousands of swords were humming at the same time. The light was dazzling, and each sword was stronger than the previous one. The power increased exponentially, and it directly shot towards Little Tiger. At this moment, with nameless cultivation and strength, the power of the three divine swords was incomparable to when he used the three divine swords in the sealed ancient land. An Lingjun also attacked at the same time. His eyes were fixed on Ouyang Shuang, and they were cold and ruthless. He condensed his hand seals, and the runes on his body shone brightly. A mighty energy directly swept towards Ouyang Shuang. An Lingjun's talent was extraordinary, and he cultivated both martial arts and talisman. His attacks swept in all directions, and with the help of his soul power, the turbulent aura was like thousands of soldiers and horses galloping. It made the void boil, and the runes drowned everything. It swept towards Ouyang Shuang with an earth-shattering force. Facing Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Little Tiger, and Ouyang Shuang, Dongli Qihuang, Shilongyang, Nameless, and An Lingjun took the lead and attacked violently in an instant. That vast aura immediately shocked everyone present. You're just a nirvana martial venerable. You're courting death. Under the gaze of hundreds of millions of eyes, Du Xiaoqing did not retreat in the face of Dongli Qihuang's terrifying attack. Instead, she advanced. The surrounding void surged with blazing green and red flames. Every step she took, a fire lotus formed under her feet. Her long dress fluttered in the wind, and she looked holy and charming. She was ethereal like a fairy in the fire. With a wave of her hand, a huge green and red flame turned into a handprint. Boom! When the handprint appeared, a terrifying and blazing pressure suddenly descended on this part of the world. At this moment, countless eyes in the sky trembled. The blazing pressure under the handprint made everyone's primordial spirit and meridian spirit pills tremble. The surrounding demonic beasts were directly crushed to the point that they were about to crawl on the ground. Sizzle! The green and red flaming handprint appeared in the sky. Billowing flames accompanied by monstrous talisman inscriptions erupted like a volcano. The scorching heat made one's primordial spirit tremble. In the next instant, the green and red flaming handprint in Du Xiaoqing's hand slammed into Dongli Qihuang's holy light divine halo. A muffled sound rang out, and the vast void rumbled without end. Rumble. The sound of this collision was not loud, but the energy pressure that was released shook the souls of even Zun's stage experts. This power was far too terrifying. The terrifying energy pressure surged, and the Supremes who were closer to it retreated one after another. Their faces were pale. The holy light divine halo and the green and red flames clashed. Brilliant light shone, and the green and red flames created huge waves. In just a short time, Dongli Qihuang's holy light divine halo began to be destroyed. The blazing handprint then directly enveloped the easternly scarlet phoenix's body. The beast region. At the last moment, Dongli Qihuang's face was filled with shock, as if he'd seen a ghost. Layers of mysterious and resplendent armor instantly covered his body. Die for your grandfather. Du Xiaoyao's roar rang out at the same time. Her golden robes fluttered, and her golden eyes seemed to be innate spiritual eyes that overlooked everything. A terrifying aura erupted from her. In the face of Shi Long's divine python, Du Xiaoyao punched out. Her fist swept out in all directions, suppressing everything. It landed squarely on Shi Long's divine python. Rumble. Du Xiaoyao's fist contained a strange power. With the force of a bolt of lightning, it destroyed Shi Long's divine python as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. It exploded. Her fist was like a bolt of lightning. It landed on Shi Long's divine python, who had no time to dodge. His eyes were filled with shock and fear. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Shi Long's divine python's body seemed to have been struck. Blood spurted from his mouth, and his body flew backward. Bang! Bang! However, the moment Shi Longyang's body reached the rolling Central Province River below, his body exploded from the inside out, turning into a bloody mist. He could not be any more dead than he was. Break! Not far away in the sky, Xiaohu's black robe swept out with his long sleeve. With a loud shout, his long sleeve swept out a dazzling and resplendent black talisman characters. The black talisman characters rippled and transformed into a huge ink-black demon tiger phantom. Roar! The ink-black demonic tiger phantom roared. Its roar shook the mountains and rivers, suppressing tens of thousands of beasts. Mysterious runes spread out, bringing with them the power to collapse the mountains and crack the earth. It glared at Wu Ming covetously, and the pressure rolled out, directly destroying Wu Ming's 3 rainbow-colored sword rays. You're no match for me. Little Tiger roared and rushed in front of John Doe. His body emitted dazzling black talisman scripts, and he also released circles of golden talisman scripts. His fist hit John Doe like a thunderbolt. Crack, crack. The light around Wu Ming was destroyed like a hot knife through butter. Suddenly, large amounts of blood spurted out of his mouth. At this moment, Little Tiger did not even activate his body. Nirvana Beast Venerable. A shocked voice came out of Wu Ming's mouth. His body fell down like a kite with a broken string, rushing into the rolling Central Province River. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Those who offend my desolate country die. Almost at the same time, The vast qi of the underworld swept in all directions from Ouyang Shuang's Tao sword. A terrifying sword ray rushed out from the depths of hell like a strange thunderbolt. This sword directly shattered the void and slashed in all directions. Then, it directly slashed on the energy tide that caused the void to boil and the runes to drown everything. This sword was full of mysterious power. It could directly destroy an Lingjuan's primordial spirit attack and obliterate an Lingjuan's energy attack. This sword was enough to directly kill an ordinary primordial chaos martial venerable. Although An Lingjun was an extraordinary person of the same generation, his cultivation strength was not as good as Yi Piaoling and Du Yunlong before their breakthrough. His strength was far from primordial chaos martial venerable. Ouyang Shuang's sword fell and slashed in all directions. The vast qi of the underworld swept in all directions. Qila, An Lingjuan's pupils constricted. In the end, horror and despair surged out of his eyes. His body was shattered by the sword, and his soul was destroyed. Qilala, Dongli Qihuang was the first to attack. The layers of mysterious and dazzling armor on his body only blocked Du Xiaoqing for a moment. Then, it was once again destroyed by Du Xiaoqing's flaming handprint. Chapter 1405. Puffed. Dongli Qihuang spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated in a straight line. Blood sprayed from his mouth into the central province river. His golden hair was scattered, and Dongli Qihuang's crimson robe was burned to rags by the high temperature. He looked like a prodigal dog. The 8 youngsters attacked, and the wind and clouds surged. Their energy swept through the central province river for 8,000 miles. Billions of eyes watched closely, but everything came to a standstill in a short time. Wu Ming of the intelligent sword sect was severely injured by Little Tiger Du. Shi Longyang of the Sky Snake sect was killed by the golden-robed youth with a single punch. Spirit Sky Valleys and Lingjun was killed by Ouyang Shuang with a single strike. Finally, Dongli Qihuang was severely injured by Du Xiaoqing with a single strike. Everyone was completely shocked. All of this happened in the span of a few breaths. The top experts in the surroundings couldn't save them in time. In fact, they were probably powerless to do so. Dongli Qihuang and the others were top experts in the first place. A novel. Hundreds of millions of eyes fell into absolute sluggishness. The entire 8,000 miles of Central Prefecture's long river space was frozen. This scene froze the middle continent's long river. Then, everyone's eyes trembled. Their souls trembled, and their throats were dry and hot. Gulp. A moment later, hundreds of millions of gazes fell on the 4 figures. Countless gasps and gulps of saliva could be heard, and everyone's hearts were pounding. The evil purifying alliance is just bullshit. How dare you offend the world society? You can't even withstand a single blow. Little Tiger Du Xiaoqing was in the sky. He knocked Wu Ming into the central province river with a single strike. His black robe shook, and he glared fiercely. Inky black runes soared into the sky. How domineering was he? Those who offend the world society and the desolate nation die. Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoqing. Du's clear killing intent swept through the surroundings. Her green-red flames burned the void, and the aura of the beast realm spread out, causing the sky to freeze and tremble. Faced with the sudden arrival of Du Xiaoqing, Ouyang Shuang, Little Tiger, Du Xiaoyao, and Dai Xingyu, and the unstoppable killing of many top experts, the evil purifying alliance's army felt like they had fallen from heaven into hell. Their original momentum was crushed to rock bottom. In contrast, the desolate nation's world society, Xian Talisman sect, and the ancient heaven sect's army after a moment of shock. Those who offend the world die. Those who offend the desolate nation die. The World Congress and the desolate nation's army were boiling with excitement. Demonic beasts roared from all directions. Xiaoqing has reached Beast Realm. Xiaoyao Marshal of Xiaoyao's Marshal Ouyang Shuang seems to have reached Primordial Chaos Marshal Venerable as well, and not just any ordinary Primordial Chaos Marshal Venerable. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Yi Piaoling, the General, Qian Guyu, and Gu Xinyan stared at Du Xiaoqing, Ouyang Shuang, Little Tiger, and Du Xiaoyao in the air. Their faces were filled with disbelief. He killed Ling Jun with a single sword strike. What a powerful strength. It seems that he must have obtained a huge opportunity while he was outside all these years. Ouyang Ling looked at his beloved daughter in front of him and exchanged glances with Yuan Shanshan. He was also shocked and in disbelief at his beloved daughter's transformation over the years. Chi! As everyone gasped, a beautiful figure appeared out of nowhere and landed in front of Du Shaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Little Tiger Du, and Ouyang Shuang. The beautiful figure was surrounded by a dazzling white light. It was Dai Xingyu who had just killed the Taoist of Changdao of the Great Wheel Sect. Xingyu, is it really you? I almost thought I recognized the wrong person. Ouyang Shuang arrived in front of Dai Xingyu with a smile on her face. Her large eyes were filled with surprise and joy. The little girl from back then was now slender and elegant. She was stunning. Big Sister Shuang. Dai Xingyu nodded and smiled faintly. Her figure was graceful. I've heard of you. You're Dai Xingyu, Big Brother's little sister. Du Shaoqing stepped forward and looked at Dai Xingyu. I'm Du Shaoqing, also Big Brother's little sister. But you have to call me Big Sister. Beast Realm, the aura of the Bai Fong divine bird. Dai Xingyu looked at Du Shaoqing with slight ripples in her clear eyes. She smiled and said, Greetings, Big Sister Shaoqing. That's great. I have a little sister in the future too. Du Shaoqing smiled. She stood beside Dai Xingyu and looked at the terrified army of the Demon Purifying Alliance. She said, Big Brother isn't here. But the world society isn't a place where anyone can offend. That's right. Brother isn't here. And the world society isn't a place that anyone can touch. I've said it before, that one day, no one is allowed to bully Brother Xiaofu. Dai Xingyu nodded. As her clear voice rang out, she began to form seals with her hands. A vast pressure radiated from her graceful body. After that, she soared into the sky and headed towards the army of the Demon Purifying Alliance. At the same time, the energy of heaven and earth began to gather in a strange manner in this part of the world, quietly occupying the sky above. What is she doing? The army of the Demon Purifying Alliance was in an uproar when they saw the stunning woman soar towards them. Fear and panic had already surged out. Retreat. Everyone, retreat. Everyone from the Demon Purifying Alliance, retreat. Hurry. Stop. A 9-star formation talisman master dares to attack. Does the world society want to cause a calamity in the Central Plains? If a 9-star formation talisman master dares to attack, the Demon Purifying Alliance will definitely not let him off. At almost the same time, the top experts of the various factions who were engaged in an intense battle above the sea of clouds let out thunderous shouts. Spatial ripples tore apart as many figures hurriedly pounced down. However, at the same time, the aura around Dai Xingyu swept out, shaking the surrounding space. Her slender hands seemed to have formed 36 formation flags in a single breath. Boom! The 36 formation flags all radiated with shocking ripples. The space around the 36 formation flags distorted, revealing slivers of pitch-black spatial cracks. 36 formation flags were the symbol of a 9-star formation. The higher the level of a formation, the more difficult it was to set it up. At that moment, Dai Xingyu had managed to condense 36 formation flags with a simple gesture. So what if it's the Demon Purifying Alliance? Whoever dares to touch my big brother's world society will have to pay the price. Hearing the thunderous shouts in the sky, Dai Xingyu did not move at all. With a wave of her hand, the 36 formation flags immediately swept into the sky, enveloping the entire sky with lightning-like speed and trajectory. Rumble. In an instant, the 36 formation flags turned into dazzling rune-light pillars and disappeared. The sky immediately fluctuated violently, the space trembled, and the energy of heaven and earth in the entire world was in chaos. Suddenly, the 8,000-mile Central Plains river's huge waves flowed in reverse. Dazzling runes spread in all directions, and the entire world rumbled and trembled. 9 Underworld Heavenly Cycle Formation. Dai Xingyu formed the last hand seal, and a huge talisman formation appeared above the Central Plains River. The wind and clouds surged in the sky, and the world darkened. enveloping the figures of the Demon Purifying Alliance's army. The talisman formation covered the sky and the sun. Endless energy rune light distorted the space, and finally turned into a huge vortex in the sky. Endless underworld aura gushed out from the vortex, solidifying the void in all directions. Dazzling light shot out, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling resounded. The huge vortex in the sky was filled with an ancient aura. It was like the cycle of reincarnation, and its might suppressed the sky. Boundless devouring power surged out, swallowing up the billowing waves in the central plains, as well as the army of the Purifying Demon Alliance. Walala! The Demon Purifying Alliance's army was instantly swallowed by the terrifying devouring power. Those who were not powerful enough could not resist the suction force from the vortex in the sky. Like duckweed, they were swallowed by the huge blood-red waves above the 4,000-mile-long Central Province River. Figures seemed to have entered the cycle of reincarnation and were sent to the underworld. Save me! Save me! Elder! Save me! I can't resist it! Ah! In an instant, the Demon Purifying Alliance's army was filled with screams and wails. Countless figures fell like dumplings, and they were swallowed by the great formation vortex in an endless stream. They were unable to resist the terrifying devouring power at all. Even a martial royal realm cultivator would not be able to resist it at all. Oh no! Everyone, join forces to resist it. Jiuling, Jiang Ruolin, Ming Rongyin, and the others were also enveloped by the talisman array. They did not have the power to break the terrifying 9-star talisman array. Seeing their disciples being swallowed one after another, they could only shout, gather everyone, and join forces to resist it. However, the Demon Purifying Alliance's army, who were not strong enough, were continuously sucked in. They could not resist it at all. The terrifying vortex in the sky was like a bottomless pit, swallowing all living things in an endless stream. Gosh, what a terrifying talisman array! Is this the terror of a 9-star talisman master? At that moment, the Wasteland Nation's World Society, the mysterious talisman sect, and the ancient Heaven Sect's army were all shocked. The terrifying talisman array was too powerful. It's so powerful. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Yi Piaoling, Qin Guyu, Jinling, and the others gasped when they saw the terrifying 9-nether Heavenly Gang reincarnation array set up by Dai Xingyu. They felt a chill down their spines and their hair stood on end. Bastards! The Demon Purifying Alliance will never let you off. In the sea of clouds high in the sky, in a short period of time, many top powerhouses rushed down like lightning, including a few who seemed to have stepped into the quasi-domain realm. They were the powerhouses of the major forces of the Purifying Evil Alliance. Ha 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 ha, let's continue to fight. The venerated Golden Rock shouted. Following the venerated Golden Rock's appearance, the venerated Golden Rock and the other experts of the Profound Talisman sect, the venerated Golden Rock, the venerated Golden Rock, the venerated Golden Rock and the other experts of the Profound Talisman sect, as well as Elder Gu Qingyang and the others of the Ancient Heaven sect, all of them were covered in wounds and their auras were weak. It seemed that the venerable Golden Rock, Elder Ling Fu, and the others of the Ancient Heaven sect and the mysterious Talisman sect had been besieged by the experts of the Demon Purifying Alliance, including the Great Wheel sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, and the Sky Serpent sect. Chapter 1406. If not for Yi Piaoling and the rest of the 18 heavenly generals, the younger generation of the Du family, and the generals of the Tianwu Academy, who had scattered the number of top experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance, Honored Golden Rock, Elder Gu Qingyang, Elder Ling Fu, and the other experts would have been in an even more miserable state. However, the appearance of Honored Golden Rock, Elder Gu Qingyang, Elder Ling Fu, and the other experts from the Ancient Heaven sect and the mysterious Talisman sect gave off the feeling of a desperate counterattack. Honored Golden Rock and the others naturally would not let the experts from the Great Luan sect and the other factions get what they wanted. Block Honored Golden Rock and Elder Ling Fu. The rest of you, join forces to break the array. Quick! In an instant, a loud shout came from the experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance. Some of them sent their clones to block Honored Golden Rock, Elder Ling Fu, and Elder Gu Qingyang. The remaining experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance all rushed out and stepped towards the terrifying array. They wanted to join forces to break the array. A 9-star array talisman master was so terrifying. If they delayed any longer, the hundreds of millions of soldiers from the Purifying Demon Alliance would be slaughtered. At that moment, the Purifying Demon Alliance's army contained the top disciples from the various factions. No faction could afford to lose such a great number of people. Bastards, you're courting death. It was at this moment that Little Who cried out loudly when he saw the top experts from the Purifying Evil Alliance charging out from the sea of clouds in an attempt to break the formation together. His black robes shook as his body pounced forward like a ferocious tiger descending from the mountain. Buzz. Ouyang Shuang shook the Swanee sword in her hand. At that moment, the aura of a Nirvana martial supremacy was released without reservation. She charged towards the experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance. Kill. Almost at the same time, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Du Yu, Du Shui, Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Silver Fox, and the other young experts from the Du family and the World Society pounced out. With their current strength, they were definitely able to contend with the top experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance, especially Little Tiger Du and Ouyang Shuang. Even if they encountered a half-domain expert, they would be able to fight head-on. On the other hand, Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaoqing did not make a move. The two of them seemed to have suddenly sensed something, and their gazes abruptly turned to the sky. The likes of you want to break the formation? Looks like the so-called Evil Purifying Alliance is nothing but bullshit. Dai Xingyu remained unmoved in the face of the numerous experts from the Purifying Demon Alliance pouncing forward in an attempt to break the formation. Her figure was graceful, but her eyes flickered with resplendent light. White divine light rippled from her delicate body, seemingly able to merge with space itself. With a wave of her hand, she viciously swatted forward. Chi-la-la, space rippled as the whole passed through a vast expanse of space, and a dazzling light suddenly appeared in front of the experts of the Purifying Demon Alliance. It was a resplendent white wave of light. It was filled with ancient and terrifying power of the soul, and it suddenly swept towards the experts of the Purifying Evil Alliance. Puff puff, thud thud. This instantaneous change caused the experts of the Purifying Demon Alliance to panic. Their expressions changed as they immediately used their abilities to defend themselves. However, the terrifying wave of space was mixed with a soul attack. The experts of the Purifying Demon Alliance originally wanted to join forces to break the formation, but the stronger ones were now forced to retreat in a sorry state. The weaker ones all spat out mouthfuls of blood. They were heavily injured, and their souls were injured. None of them could withstand a single blow. At this moment, Dai Xingyu was a true 9-star soul symbol master, and not an ordinary 9-star soul symbol master could compare to her. Among the experts of the Purifying Demon Alliance, there were at most 2 or 3 half-domains. Even a half-domain cultivator couldn't be compared to a true 9-star expert. You've already made arrangements. At the same time, Du Xiaoqing and Du Xiaoyao withdrew their gazes from the sky and looked at each other. Du Xiaoqing's eyes were cold, and her face sank. She immediately vanished from where she was. In the next moment, when Du Xiaoqing reappeared, she was already in front of Dongli Qihuang, who had been heavily injured and was in a sorry state. To defeat the bandits, one had to first capture the ringleader. Du Xiaoqing knew quite a bit about the enmity between Dongli Qihuang and her brother. At this moment, Du Xiaoqing looked around and knew that even if Dongli Qihuang was not the mastermind, it was still closely related to Dongli Qihuang. She did not want to let Dongli Qihuang go. Die. Du Xiaoqing made her move. She waved her slender hand, and a vast amount of scorching energy of the world immediately gathered. Wherever her finger passed, azure-red flames leapt, like a flaming blade cutting through space, leaving pitch-black marks in the air. At the same time that Du Xiaoqing appeared, Dongli Qihuang's eyes, which had been filled with radiance, were filled with shock, hatred, and fear. In front of a true beast domain expert, Dongli Qihuang knew very well that he was still quite a distance away from his peak strength from his previous life. He was no match for Du Xiaoqing at all with his current level of cultivation. Wu Qi, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me. As his pupils contracted, Dongli Chi Huang's eyes were filled with fear and hatred. Soon after, he was filled with hatred. He desperately retreated with all his might as his shout resounded through the sky. In just a short instant, Du Xiaoqing had caught up to Dongli Chi Huang. The surrounding space twisted and solidified as azure-red flames surged out. They turned into a wave of flames that could incinerate space and viciously swept towards Dongli Chi Huang. At this moment, Du Xiaoqing did not hold back at all. Her aura blazed as she wanted to directly kill Dongli Chi Huang. Who dares to touch a member of my great Luan sect? Break! Suddenly, a thunderous roar rang out in the sky. A majestic figure appeared in the sky. Vast runes rippled with resplendent waves. It was as if the sun had descended, transforming into a dazzling beam of divine light. It was like a heavenly pillar that pierced through space and shot towards Du Xiaoqing. As the dazzling pillar of light shot down, a huge force immediately poured down from the sky. The vast pressure was definitely not below that of Du Xiaoqing's initial domain Beast Sovereign. You're only at the initial domain of the martial domain. Get lost. At the same time, a terrifying aura burst out. Du Xiaoyao's body crossed space and appeared above Du Xiaoqing's head. Du Xiaoyao's golden clothes fluttered in the wind as golden light filled the sky. He was like a terrifying supreme being of the heavens and earth. A dazzling golden light exploded like a scorching sun as he suddenly punched towards the resplendent pillar of light. Boom! Du Xiaoyao's punch was accompanied by a hazy radiance. It was as if the world had just been created. It directly blocked the dazzling pillar of light and completely destroyed it in the sky. Walala! Terrifying energy exploded like dazzling fireworks. The hazy air rippled and caused the surrounding space to tremble. Stomp! Stomp! That majestic figure was directly shaken by little Demon Du until he retreated a few steps diagonally in the air. Stomp! Stomp! However, under this punch, Du Xiaoyao's body was also forced back a few steps. The golden eyes in his eyes immediately looked at the majestic figure. With a look of surprise, he muttered softly, "Peak of the initial domain." Qi, however, as Du Xiaoyao was blocking, a figure silently appeared in front of Dongli Chi Huang, whose eyes were filled with fear and resentment. It was an old man who looked to be in his 60s. He had an extraordinary temperament and looked somewhat similar to Dongli Chi Huang. Qi, Qi, Qi. Following the appearance of the old man, dazzling rays of light emerged from his body. They turned into waves of wild energy that drew in the boundless energy of the world. Soon after, they carried a terrifying amount of energy as they ruthlessly collided with the green and red raging flames that Du Xiaoqing had summoned. Rumble! The two wild tides collided. Under the frightening might, the space along the way cracked open, causing tiny spatial ripples to appear in the surrounding space, spreading all the way to the distant sky. The green and red flame tide that Du Xiaoqing had activated finally disappeared in the sky along with the dazzling light tide. Qi, Qi. At this moment, another 4 figures descended from the sky at the same time. For terrifying auras surged in the sky. None of the auras was weaker than Du Xiaoqing's. Break the formation. As the 4 figures appeared, a chill surged in their eyes. The surrounding energy of the world was affected imperceptibly, for dazzling and surging rune energies surged out from the 4 of them. They quickly condensed into a vast and mighty energy tide in front of each of them. Boom! In an instant, the wind and clouds in the sky changed color. There were rumbling sounds of lightning and thunder. The energy ripples in front of the 4 of them turned into 4 attacks. With lightning speed and thunderous might, they directly charged towards the 9 serene heavenly cycle formation that Dai Xingyu had set up in the sky. Qi, Qi, Qi. The 4 terrifying energy attacks suddenly collided with the 9 serene heavenly cycle formation. The entire space immediately trembled. The terrifying 9 serene heavenly cycle vortex trembled. The runes were destroyed. After a stalemate for a while, it finally could not withstand the 4 terrifying attacks and cracked. Finally, it exploded. Bang, bang, bang. The 9 serene heavenly cycle formation exploded. A huge spatial hole was torn open in the space. The thunderous explosion was like a bolt from the blue as a violent gale swept out. Crash, crash, crash. The terrifying energy ripples spread and swept out. It was as if they were crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The surrounding space was completely shattered. For a time, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire space revealed the void. Huge waves surged into the sky above the 8,000-mile-long Central Region River. The water level dropped by half. Arg! The energy tide was like the end of the world. Under the sweep of the energy from the destruction of the formation, several million soldiers of the Purifying Demon Alliance were unlucky enough to have their souls destroyed. Their bodies were reduced to fragments and a bloody mist. Chapter 1407. The monstrous force formed an arc in the air along with the energy of heaven and earth. It then swept through the air and disappeared after reaching a certain distance. Not good. Another martial domain realm expert has arrived. Such a terrifying commotion caused the venerable Golden Rock, Elder Gu Qingyang, Elder Spirit Talisman, and Little Tiger Du, Ouyang Shuang, who had just charged out, to stop fighting. The surrounding gazes were even more shocked. Looking at the terrifying commotion, all of them were tongue-tied. Thud thud. The talisman array shattered and Dai Xingyu staggered back a few steps. His face was slightly pale and a trace of dark red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. However, he didn't seem to be in too much of a trouble. His eyes immediately looked at the four figures that had arrived. They were two old men. One was wearing a long robe, and the other was wearing a plain robe. There was also an old woman who looked to be in her 70s. Her hair was coiled up, and she looked extremely dignified and dignified. The four of them had one thing in common, and that was the aura on their bodies. They all stood in the air and seemed to have merged with the world, causing one's soul to tremble at a glance. The aura of any one of the four people wouldn't be weaker than the pressure from Du Shaoqing and Dai Xingyu. Black Snake Domain Lord, Dragon Transformation Domain Lord, Spirit Array Domain Lord, Spirit Cloud Domain Lord, Wu Qi Domain Lord, Dongli Changgu. The six of you actually attacked a few juniors. How shameless. A deep voice filled with disdain rang out in the air, and two figures also landed in the air upon hearing the voice. The two figures were tall and straight. One of them was dressed in green and had black hair. His glass-like eyes were somewhat serious on his handsome face. He stared at the six people who had just descended, and his aura was incomparably disdainful. This person was the ancient Heaven Sect's sect master, Sima Taxing. At this moment, the other person arrived at almost the same time as Sima Taxing. He looked to be in his 50s, but he looked extremely young. Dressed in a gray, scholarly robe, this old man who looked to be in his 50s couldn't be considered handsome. However, his deep eyes swept across the battlefield as if they wanted to suck people in. He stood quietly and was filled with the aura of a king. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Grand Elders. At the same time, as the 8 figures appeared in the sky, the Evil Purge Alliance, the Ancient Heaven Sect, and the Profound Talisman Sect's armies immediately saluted them in unison. Even the experts from both sides stopped fighting and bowed to the 8 people who had just arrived. 8 figures had suddenly descended. 8 auras that solidified space surged. The rising and falling salutes made Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Little Tiger, Ouyang Shuang, and the rest stop fighting in confusion. Their gazes were astonished as they looked towards the domineering figures that had suddenly descended. They secretly frowned as they sensed the auras that had unknowingly spread from the 8 figures. No need for formalities. The 8 of them stepped into the air and waved their hands, indicating that the surrounding disciples were excused. Quite a number of figures flew into the air and stood closely behind the 8 of them. Godfather, Zhu Shui's beautiful figure flew into the air and immediately arrived in front of the old man in his 50s, who had arrived at the same time as Sima Taxing. Her tightly knitted eyebrows relaxed a little, but her eyes were still filled with seriousness. Quickly consume this pill and adjust your breathing. I will take care of the rest. The old man frowned slightly when he saw Zhu Shui's deathly pale face. He handed over an extraordinary healing pill. This old man was Zhu Shui's godfather, the sect master of the profound talisman sect, Nanli Hun. Just like Sima taxing, he was a person who could make the entire Central Plains tremble with a stomp of his foot. After handing over the pill to Zhu Shui, Nanli Hun's gaze swept across the entire place and the remaining experts who had arrived. He exchanged a glance with Sima taxing without anyone noticing as a solemn expression appeared on his face. The profound talisman sect had decided to join forces with the ancient heaven sect to resist the evil purifying alliance with the desolate country's world assembly. There would be a battle today. The armies of the profound talisman sect and the ancient heaven sect, together with the desolate country's world assembly, were definitely not enough to resist the entire evil purifying alliance. The martial domain realm experts of the profound talisman sect were all in seclusion due to the news of the impending calamity. They had no time to waste, so Nanli Hun had personally come to the Central Plains Long River. Sima taxing's situation was similar to Nanli Hun's. The experts of the ancient heaven sect were also in seclusion. They were worried about the ancient heaven sect's army, so they had personally come. Looks like it was premeditated. As they arrived at the Central Plains Long River, Sima taxing and Nan Lichuan exchanged a glance with each other and understood what was going on. The ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect were the closest to the Central Plains Long River. The six of them were the Black Snake Domain Lord and the Dragon Domain Lord of the Sky Snake sect, the Spirit Array Domain Lord and the Spirit Cloud Domain Lord of the Spirit Sky Valley, and the Sect Master of the Great Wheel sect, Dongli Changgu and Wu Qi Domain Lord. Whether it was the Great Wheel sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, or the Sky Snake sect, they were further away from the Central Plains Long River than the Ancient Heaven sect and the Profound Talisman sect. Even the Sky Snake sect, which was the closest, was not as close as the Profound Talisman sect. Sima Taxing and Nan Lichuan were confident that the cultivation of Dongli Changgu and the others would not be weak. Therefore, the moment they looked at each other, they immediately knew what was going on. The six martial domain realm experts of the Great Wheel sect had already made arrangements. They were definitely premeditated. Otherwise, the people of the Great Wheel sect would not have arrived earlier than them. If the Great Wheel sect had only sent a message at the last minute, it would be impossible for the domain realm experts to cross the space and arrive at the Central Plains Long River so quickly. The Great Wheel sect probably had martial domain realm experts in order to stop the Ancient Heaven sect and the Profound Talisman sect from interfering. Moreover, it was rumored that there was a 9-star Spirit Talisman Master Saint Array prodigy in the world meeting, so they must have taken precautions. At this moment, the 6 domain realm experts were from the Great Wheel sect, the Spirit Sky Valley, and the Sky Snake sect. These 3 forces had always advocated against the ancient desolate country and the world meeting. However, the Immeasurable sect, the Huijian sect, the Profound Underworld sect, and the 4 sects of the Shindu Gate did not send any domain realm experts. The major forces of the Central Plains had always had an unwritten rule. Any dispute that involved the martial honorable realm was already the limit. Once the martial domain realm was involved, the entire Central Plains would be in trouble if a war broke out. Now, the domain realm experts of the Great Wheel sect, the Sky Snake sect, and the Spirit Sky Valley had appeared. Moreover, there were 2 from each sect, so a total of 6 domain realm experts had appeared. With such a lineup, it was not difficult for Sima Taxing and Nan Lichuan to guess that they were guarding against the ancient heavenly sect and the Profound Talisman school. At the same time, they were using thunderous means to raise the desolate country and the world union to the ground. 6 domain realm experts, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Dai Xingyu, Little Tiger, and Ouyang Shuang gathered together. When they saw the sudden appearance of the 6 domain realm experts of the Purifying Demon Alliance, their eyes narrowed slightly and emitted a chill. 4 initial domain martial domain realm experts, 1 peak initial domain realm expert, and 1 peak 9-star initial domain talisman master. Dai Xingyu looked at the 6 people and frowned slightly. However, she was not too worried. Instead, a chill surged in the depths of her eyes. However, at this moment, the arrival of the 8 domain realm experts caused the entire Central Plains to tremble. Under the invisible and terrifying aura, the space above the Central Plains Long River seemed to have frozen. Countless bodies trembled secretly. The invisible pressure caused their hearts to beat faster and the profound qi in their bodies to be blocked. Sima taxing, Nanli Hun. This matter has nothing to do with the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect. The world meeting is related to the evil spirits. The Purifying Demon Alliance has the responsibility and obligation to cleanse the evil spirits. It's better for the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect to not interfere. Do the ancient heaven sect and the profound talisman sect want to ally with the evil spirits? Amidst the astonished oppression, the old man in his 60s who appeared in front of Dongli Qihuang and blocked Du Xiaoqing's attack looked at Sima taxing with a cold expression. He was Dongli Qihuang's father, the current sect master of the Great Wheel sect, Dongli Changgu. Your messing with the world meeting is messing with the ancient heaven sect. Do you think it has nothing to do with the ancient heaven sect? Sima taxing's glassy eyes rippled with coldness. His green robes fluttered in the wind as he stared at Dongli Changgu and said in a deep voice, Dongli Changgu, let's not beat around the bush. You know what the evil spirits are. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come so quickly. Nan Lichuan's gaze swept across the surroundings before he looked at Zhu Shui who was beside him. He also looked at Dongli Changgu and said, the profound talisman sect doesn't believe that the world meeting is related to the evil spirits. There must be something hidden in this matter. It's better to investigate it thoroughly. If someone wants to use the name of the Purifying Demon Alliance to do something shameful to achieve their own goals, the profound talisman sect will naturally not agree. Humph. Sima taxing, Nanli Hun. Do you think you two juniors can stop us today? Don't be too naive. Behind Dongli Changgu, the majestic old man who had been forced back after exchanging blows with Du Xiaoyao looked at Sima taxing and Nanli Hun with a gloomy expression. However, when he looked at Du Xiaoyao from the corner of his eyes, his expression became even uglier. You killed a disciple of the Sky Snake sect. Brat, no matter who you are, the Sky Snake sect won't let you go. An old man stared at Du Xiaoyao. He wore a black robe and his eyes were extremely cold. He was the Black Snake Region Master of the Sky Snake sect. Shi Longyang was the hope of the Sky Snake sect. However, when he saw Shi Longyang being killed in one move, the Region Master of the Black Snake region was caught off guard. Before he could react, it was already too late. How could he not be angry at this moment? You killed a disciple of the Spirit Sky Valley. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. Bitch, you must die today. The old woman among the six also stared at Ouyang Shuang. She was the region master of the Spirit Sky Valley. She watched An Lingjun being killed by a woman with one strike. At this moment, the region master of the Spirit Sky Valley was definitely not in a better mood than the Black Snake region master of the Sky Snake sect. Wu Qi, father, quickly finish off the world society to avoid future troubles. Dongli Qihuang, who had yet to recover from his shock, stood behind Dongli Changgu and Region Master Wu Qi. He let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he glared at Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Little Tiger Du, Dai Xingyu, Ouyang Shuang, and the others with resentment. Chapter 1408. The stronger the world society was, the more uneasy and fearful Dongli Qihuang felt. Today, the appearance of Du Xiaoqing, Dai Xingyu, Ouyang Shuang, and the others had completely shocked Dongli Qihuang. Dongli Qihuang originally thought that he only had to be wary of Du Xiaofu and be wary of Du Yunlong and Yi Piaoling in the world society and the desolate nation. Only now did Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix realize how wrong he had been. The most terrifying people in the world society in the desolate nation were not Du Xiaofu, Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, and the others. Instead, it was Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger Du, Ouyang Shuang, and the others. There was also the young 9-star talisman master. Dongli Qihuang did not know where he came from. Of course, the more powerful the world society and the Du family were, the more certain Dongli Qihuang was that the Du family must have a treasure. Otherwise, the Du family and the world society would not have been able to rise so quickly in just a few years. Hearing Dongli Qihuang's words, Dongli Changgu and Domain Lord Wu Qi also stared at Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Xiaoyao. Their eyes were cold and ugly. They were also worried about what Dongli Qihuang was worried about. Based on their current performance, The young people of the world society and the desolate nation were too terrifying and abnormal. These young people were nirvana martial saints at such a young age, and even the domain realm. If they continued to grow, their future prospects would be unimaginable. Today, the evil purging alliance, especially the Great Luan sect, had completely formed a grudge with the world society and the desolate nation. Dongli Changgu and the others knew that there was no way to resolve this. If they could not kill these young people, it would be endless trouble for the Great Luan sect in the future. Spirit Cloud, Spirit Array, Sky Snake, Dragon Transformation. End this quickly and settle everything. Region Master Wu Qi's majestic figure stood as he looked at the 3 martial domains and a 9-star Spirit Talisman Master from the Spirit Sky Valley and the Sky Snake sect. Okay, let's finish this quickly. Ling Yun, Ling Zhun, Sima Taxing, and Nanli Hun, the 2 juniors, I'll leave them to you. Today, this little world meeting must be removed from the list. The long-robed dragon region lord from the Sky Snake sect spoke to the old lady and the middle-aged man from the Spirit Heaven Valley. His gaze swept over Du Shaoqing and the others at this moment. The killing intent in his eyes was sharp and fierce. His heart was already filled with killing intent. If these people were allowed to grow, it would be a disaster for the Sky Snake sect. Shi Longyang's death would also have to be repaid in blood. All right. Spirit Sky Valley's Spirit Array Domain Lord, the middle-aged man, nodded. Beside him, the old woman, Spirit Cloud Domain Lord, immediately looked at Sima Taxing and Nanli Hun. It was naturally not a problem for them to stop Sima Taxing and Nanli Hun. As soon as he finished speaking, the 6 domain realm experts stepped forward in unison. Almost at the same time, the 6 people's auras triggered the energy of heaven and earth. Terrifying fluctuations immediately spread out from their bodies. Instantly, a terrifying aura spread out in the surroundings. Boom! The wind and clouds surged high up in the sky. The 8,000 miles long central region's river froze. Under the aura of the 6 martial domain realm experts, terrifying and shocking power fluctuations rippled out. Traces of cracks appeared in the space along the way. The domain realm experts are about to strike. Retreat quickly. Don't be affected by it. The monstrous aura gushed out as if it was connected to heaven and earth. The hundreds of millions of soldiers almost prostrated themselves on the ground in fear. You want to touch your grandfather with just the few of you. Du Xiaoyao was in the sky. Looking at the 4 people who were about to strike, Wu Qi, Dongli Changgu, Dragon Region Lord, and Black Snake Region Lord's eyes flickered with golden light. Misty aura fluctuated around her body. She did not take them seriously. Then, she said to Du Shaoqing and Dai Xingyu, I'll deal with 2 of them. I'll leave the other 2 to you. Humph. Du Shaoqing snorted softly. Her gaze swept across the few martial domain realm experts from the evil purifying alliance. She did not take them seriously either. Dai Xingyu's body was enveloped in divine light. His expression showed that he was not worried at all. In fact, he even looked like he did not care. However, the coldness in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. Seniors, the Boundless sect will withdraw from today's battle. Perhaps we should investigate the relationship between the world society and the evil spirits. Suddenly, a voice was heard. It was not loud, but it resounded in the sky above the battlefield. Everyone looked over when they heard the voice. The one who spoke was Juling of the Boundless sect. At this moment, his expression was solemn. Judging from his expression, he seemed to be hesitant when he made this decision. However, he still decided to withdraw from today's battle. His tone seemed to be biased towards the world society. Disciples of the Boundless sect, retreat with me. As soon as he finished speaking, Juling waved his long sleeves and led the Boundless sect's army to retreat. Shindu Gate withdraws from today's battle. Brothers, disciples, retreat. The Profound Underworld sect withdraws from today's battle. Disciples of the Profound Underworld sect, retreat. As Juling announced his withdrawal from today's battle, his brothers Zhang Ruolin and Ming Rongyin from the Profound Underworld sect immediately announced their withdrawal as well. At this moment, Juling, Zhang Ruolin, and Ming Rongyin could more or less see that the Great Wheel sect, Sky Snake sect, and Spirit Sky Valley had martial field experts who had come long ago. This clearly showed that they had the intention of interfering with the world gathering. If it was just to get rid of the evil spirits, then even if the Great Will Sect, Spirit Sky Valley, and the other sects had to mobilize their domain realm experts, they would definitely drag the three great mountain sects along. They wouldn't take the initiative to send out their domain realm experts. At this moment, Spirit Sky Valley, Great Lewin Sect, Sky Snake Sect, Ancient Heaven Sect, Profound Talisman Sect, World Society, and Desolate Country all had domain experts. The battle between the two sides was about to erupt. On the contrary, the Boundless Sect, Shindu Gate, and other forces did not send their domain experts. Juling, Jiang Ruolin, Ming Rongyin, and the others were not fools. They had already realized the abnormality and immediately chose to withdraw from the battle to avoid being used as a tool and suffering heavy losses. Originally, the Boundless Sect, Shindu Gate, and other forces had already suffered heavy losses. The Intelligent Sword Sect will also withdraw from today's battle. All Intelligent Sword Sect disciples, retreat. Above the central province's long river, a figure in a sorry state appeared at a low altitude. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, his clothes were drenched, and his hair was disheveled. It was Wu Ming, who had been swatted down the central province's long river by Little Tiger. Although he seemed to have suffered heavy injuries, he did not suffer. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as Juling and the others finished speaking, the evil Purifying Alliance's army was in an uproar. Immediately, a large number of figures retreated as if they had been pardoned. Subsequently, many small and medium-sized forces who had been following the Boundless Sect, Intelligent Sword Sect, Shindu Gate, and Profound Underworld Sect also felt as if they had been pardoned and retreated as well. In a short period of time, at least half of the evil Purifying Alliance's army, who had yet to recover from the shock, had retreated in front of Dai Xingyu's 9 Underworld Heavenly Cycle Formation. Bastard! Seeing this, Dongli Chihuang and many other experts from the Great Lewin Sect, Sky Snake Sect, and Spirit Heaven Valley cursed inwardly. Even the expressions of Domain Lord Wu Qi, Domain Lord Hualong, Domain Lord Ling Array, and the other domain realm experts darkened. On the other hand, many of the Desolate Nations World Society, Ancient Heaven Sect, and Profound Talisman Sect's lineup relaxed a little. Regardless of the reason, although the Boundless Sect, Intelligent Sword Sect, and the other 4 Great Mountain Sects did not change sides at the last minute, retreating at this moment was naturally beneficial to the Ancient Heaven Sect, Profound Talisman Sect, and World Society. Let's end this quickly. Let's do it. Domain Lord Wu Qi's expression turned ugly. Although the Boundless Sect's sudden retreat did not affect much, since they did not send any domain realm experts, the most important thing at the moment was the presence of their domain realm experts. Compared to the Wasteland Nations World Society, the Profound Talisman Sect, and the Ancient Heaven Sect, there was one more domain realm expert. Although it was just one more domain realm expert, it was enough to change the entire battle situation. However, the Boundless Sect's retreat was also an unforeseen event for them. In order to avoid any more unexpected changes, they urgently wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. Rumble! Region Lord Wu Qi and the rest of the 6 looked at each other and secretly exchanged glances. Their respective auras surged out from their bodies and swiftly agglomerated into a vast and mighty energy space in the sky. Accompanied by a majestic pressure that filled the space, the rumbling sound of wind and thunder reverberated endlessly in the air. The 6 domain realm experts moved in an instant. As their auras surged, the sky changed color. Sima Taxing and Nanli Hun's expressions turned solemn. Dazzling runes also surged out from their bodies. Their long robes fluttered in the wind, and their auras suddenly swept out. "Come on, Grandpa is waiting for you," Du Xiaoyao shouted in a deep voice. As her golden robe fluttered, a golden light soared into the sky. Du Xiaoqing and Du Xiaoyao seemed to be of the same size, but their auras were equally terrifying. The void began to freeze, and their eyes were filled with coldness. Little Tiger Du, Ouyang Shuang, and Du Yunlong's expressions turned solemn. At this moment, they did not casually intervene. In front of a true domain realm expert, they knew that they could not intervene much. They would only distract Du Xiaoyao and the others. Today, we will flatten the Wasteland Country's World Conference and destroy the Du family. Dongli Zhanggu's voice spread out. Domain Lord Wu Qi, Domain Lord Spirit Array, Domain Lord Spirit Cloud, Domain Lord Black Snake, and Domain Lord Dragon all released their auras. The 6 of them seemed to be drawing on the majestic power of heaven and earth with every movement. They were about to directly pounce on Du Shaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, Sima Taxing, and the others. The battle was on the verge of breaking out. The arrow was already knocked on the bow. Dongli, Changgu, and the other domain realm cultivators were about to make their move. Just as they were about to pounce forward, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly rang out from the sky. Regardless of whether it is the desolate country, the world society, or the Du family, none of you will have the chance to be annihilated today. The clear and unhurried voice came, but it seemed to spread in everyone's ears. It did not carry any pressure, but it made people's hearts tremble for no reason. This voice seemed to carry a kind of magic. It made Dongli Zhanggu and the others, who were about to attack, suddenly stop their attacks. At the same time that the unhurried voice fell, space rippled out of thin air in the sky. The space ripples seemed to be torn apart, and 2 figures flashed out. One of the 2 figures was an old woman in her 70s. She wore a plain dress and looked old, but her steps were vigorous. Her face was full of wrinkles, as if the vicissitudes of time were written on it. The other was a woman in her mid-20s. However, when they saw the woman who had suddenly appeared, countless gazes suddenly trembled fiercely. It was as if their bodies had been struck by lightning. Xiaofu, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Elder Gu Qingyang, Sima Taxing, and the others were even more stunned. Even their eyes were trembling in shock at this moment.